Sancho brought a message from Fatima. Sorry, boy, to leave behind and try. But I went to see my mom in Ensenada, and I left a little something to help I can go by. Just a little bit to help to keep you high. Bananas and blow, bananas and blow, bananas and blow, bananas and blow. Stuck in my bananas and blow.
Does that mean they're blowing bananas? Just saying.
Here we are. Hey, we did it. We did it. We made it here.
Like,
we are here.
Dipping bananas in cocaine and eating it, or are they blowing bananas?
Yeah, you just. Well, it's kind of like a multi-process. You stick the tip in, you get it coated, and then.
I think I get the message. It's pretty clear.
It's bananas and bones, baby. That's the vibe. You feel me? I'll be going out to the club wearing this shit. Everybody's like, "Woo!" I'm like, "Yo, Shotty's got to back up. I want to hit you with my."
Are they saying bones?
No, he's got a bone shirt though.
No, yeah, no, that is a play on words. But yeah, no, the song is "Bananas and Blow" by Ween.
You put that shirt, those shirts on just for that song. Wait,
no, it was kind of an aftermath. It was an after.
Get in the
yeah, you know, hey,
Elton John glasses.
Just
keep it festive. Hey, you guys wish you had some of these blue light blockers. I stole them from the Dollar Tree.
That's what's up.
You know, yeah. Hey, you know, they were only $1, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I can fork that over. I mean, kind of broke right now. I don't know if I got $1.
Yeah. You should bum it off somebody.
I bummed it off of God. God gave me the graces. He said, boy, you take those glasses out the store. You don't pay for those today.
Oh, really?
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah. He encouraged you to steal.
Yeah. He said, you go down. You said, you come off of your mountaintop there and go down into Babylon and preach to the people the good word of me and steal things from the Dollar Tree. You're like, how, I mean, these are nice, you know. They're glasses. They're kind of pink tint. They blue light block. You know, I mean,
ooh,
how do they make them for $1 and sell them for that? I don't know. You know, but that's a snaky system that we got. So what are we talking about today, boys? What are we even doing here? What's going on?
Nice snagway.
Snake way.
Going into the serpents today. We're going to be talking about snakes, serpents, all that jazz.
It's a pretty light topic. Might be a short episode, huh?
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding. Whoa, PK. Coming out here with the heat.
Keep the snake stays in the pants, Romy. I don't think the Roman snake can get out of his pants.
It can't. No, it can't, because we practice kundalinis around here, and we work up to the point.
Cage.
Whoop. Yep.
All we are is
wean off.
Snakes in the cage.
All and on, just the snakes on the plane. Well, so okay, we are feeling festive today. Obviously, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Dan and I just hopped off a conversation with author Martin Eddington, author of 140 books.
Wow.
It was insane. And I actually believe that he's not a robot. After talking to him, he's just very into writing. Wrote those 140 books since 2008. He said
7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I was like, wow,
How do you
that's
know that's possible?
dude, that's just going. That's just researching, writing. I mean,
What is that?
you
Like
know, a lot of people.
one a month?
So 2008, if he wrote, okay, that's more, right? So 2008, that's 7 years.
15 years.
15 years.
I mean.
Wow, my math is terrible. Everyone just
25,
delete
25.
that from your memory.
25.
25 a month?
No, 25 years.
That's
2008 to, or no, it is only 15, huh? Shit.
Yeah.
15 years, so 10 books a year.
10 books a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just about a book a month. Cranking them out. But his you know, his style of writing is really good. You could tell that he goes deep into the subject and then he gets it as it's fresh, as it's going. And you know, he's a great man. Who's this? Ray Allen. Hey, let me tell you what, I am incredibly single, and it's staying that way, baby.
Show your face.
I've been crushed. I've been crushed into a million. Dan, show some respect around here, brother. Sweet Krispy Kremes, man. Hey, I don't need to see somebody's face in order to actually, you know.
I know,
here's the deal.
I love that you're sending people over here to comment for you. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I paid Ray, by the way.
Yeah, you paid her. You're like, go say something about
think I'm cool. Yeah. No, I've been crushing to a million pieces, and I think it's time for me to just, you know, chill for a little bit and go dive deeper in. And you know, the past couple of years have been rough when it comes to maintaining relationships. I don't know. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. So I'm trying to.
Well, we've been doing pretty good so far, sweetheart.
Yeah, this has been okay. You know, a couple times I've asked you to do some chores and you didn't do the chores. Just simple house cleaning
Who do you think
things.
you are?
Oh, I know you pay the bills, but I'm here all day, and then when you come home, you don't want to hang out. Okay, guys, come on. Let's get serious for a second. Andy, do you have an article you want to start us off with? I know you have some follow up from last week when we were talking about dragons.
I sure do. To touch on some etymology, serpent comes from the Latin serpere and later serpen, which means to creep or creepy. Now, I do have an article here that's going to be covering a lot of stuff, and we can go off this into pretty much anything. This is an article that's brought to us here by symbolsage.com. Now, I got a new laptop. Is there any way I can share this on the screen now? How do I do that?
Oh, he's doing it on the laptop now. Great.
Woo. Upgrade.
Yeah. So if you go down here to present, you hit present, and that should be your share screeny. Genie.
Google Chrome. I'd like to record this.
Genie.
All right, good to go. Let's see here. May not be able to record the contents of your screen until it is quit. Ooh, okay. It's telling me that I have to quit and restart in order to share screen. So I'm just gonna try to work on that next time, I guess.
Interesting. Yeah. So the etymology of the word serpent itself, you're saying, comes from the Latin term serpentine.
Yeah, serpentine from serpere, the verb. Now, for thousands of years, the serpents have been regarded as a complex symbol of either good or evil across different cultures, religions, and tribes. These powerful creatures were feared and respected at the same time and have a wide array of symbolic meanings. From the ancient Egyptians to the Bible, the serpent is extremely pervasive and versatile symbol. Throughout Egyptian history, serpents were extremely prominent as a protective symbol of pharaohs. The Uraeus emblem was a symbol of the Wadjet, the serpent goddess.
Legit. Yeah.
As one of the oldest deities, Wadjet was regarded as the protector of Egypt and its people, and the guardian of the cosmos, warding off chaos and evil. The uraeus was typically placed on the pharaoh's crown and represented the highest authority and the protection of the ancient kingdoms. Sometimes the European moon goddess Isis is depicted as half human and half serpent. She was also considered to be the protector of children and women and had healing powers. The legend says that Egyptian god Atum, the god of creation, had a serpent's appearance as well. It was believed that Atum would shed his skin every morning and would emerge reborn with the first rays of sunlight. In old Egyptian texts, another serpent-like mythological creature called Ouroboros often appeared. The Ouroboros was depicted as a snake swallowing its own tail, symbolizing the cyclic nature of birth, death, and rebirth. Now we can segue here into serpents in Greek mythology, starting with Asclepius with his rod and snake, which is prominent today as the medical symbol. The rod of Asclepius is also known as the caduceus staff, but Asclepius only had one snake on his staff. Some believe that this was the representation of the patriarchy taking the reins and the matriarchy kind of falling onto the wayside.
I can dig that. That's definitely a lot of my findings as well.
Since snakes live in holes and cracks in the ground, they were usually regarded as defenders of the underworld and were the emissaries between two worlds to the Greeks. The most prominent Greek myth about the serpents is the one about the Gorgons. Medusa is the most famous Gorgon, whose hair was made of multiple live snakes and whose glands would turn mortals into stone. And if I'm not mistaken, she also had a serpent tail. Okay, here we have a little thing about the caduceus versus the rod of Asclepius here. And it says, the caduceus is traditional emblem of the Greek god Hermes, messenger of the gods, equivalent to the Roman god Mercury. He is the patron of thieves, merchants, and travelers. The caduceus features two snakes entwined around a staff with wings. The symbol represents Hermes, fertility, birth, rejuvenation, harmony, and balance. Whereas the rod of Asclepius is a symbol of Asclepius, the Greco-Roman god of healing and medicine. This is the correct symbol of medicine, featuring a single snake wrapped around a staff, as we mentioned earlier. The staff may symbolize authority, and the snake symbolizes rebirth, healing, and rejuvenation. Other times, Greeks would see serpents as a more positive light. Some saw them as protectors from the evil spirits and a sign of good luck, healing, and fertility. The symbol of Asclepius, god of medicine, was a snake on a staff that we will see associated with medicine today. Asclepius is often depicted leaning on the thick and heavy staff or rod with a serpent spiraling around it. To this day, the healing rod of Asclepius remains a symbol of health and its logo for many medicine and healthcare organizations and universities across the world. Caduceus features a snake on a staff with wings, is also used as a symbol of health today. And now we're going to cross into serpents in Hinduism. And first and foremost, we have Shiva with the serpent around his neck, being the cobra. The omnipresent snakes prevail Hinduism and are most always associated with their deities. Mostly worshipped in India's northern parts, Manasa Devi, the Hindu goddess of snakes, is often depicted as having 4 arms and a crown full of cobras. It was believed that Manasa had the power to cure snake bites and was a symbol of prosperity and fertility. Another Hindu deity, Shiva, as we mentioned earlier, was also known as the king of snakes. He is often portrayed as having a snake around his neck as a symbol of power and fearlessness. By wearing a serpent on his neck and body, he protects his followers from the snake's venom. Throughout India, snakes are considered to be guardians of sacred places, treasure, and water sources. They're often associated with good fortune and fertility as well. And also, they have the serpent people in India, and they're called the Nagas, and they're said to live in the underworld. Similarly, in Buddhism, they have the Naginis, which hold a similar story. Now we're going to go into serpents in the Norse and Celtic cultures. This is just a brief run through of some stuff around the globe here. Due to its ability to shed, The Celts thought of serpents as a symbol of wisdom, healing, rebirth, and transformation. They were also associated with the feminine power and fertility, since their natural habitat is among weeds and roots deep in the earth, the life-giving womb. The Celtic god Cernunnos is often associated with the horned serpents. The sea serpent of Norse mythology, Jormungandr, is an important figure represented in the cycle of life with no end and no beginning. It's telling that when Christianity came to Ireland, it's symbolized by St. Patrick driving the snakes out of the nation. This effectively represents getting rid of the pagan ideas and beliefs that existed and replacing them with Christianity. Not only did they banish beliefs, I believe they banished the Druids, which is what they were referring to by the snakes. That's up to interpretation. Native American and Mesoamerican cultures have, similarly to the Celts and Native Americans, also regarded snakes as symbols of fertility, healing, and rebirth, and believe that winged serpent-like creatures ruled the world since the dawn of time. The profoundly spiritual Native Americans communicate their history, thoughts, and ideas across different generations through different symbols and signs, including the Avanyu symbol. The Avanyu is a zigzag, curved, and horned serpent-like creature that was benevolent but greatly feared. Due to its curved shape, it was often associated with water, lightning, and thunderstorms, and it was believed to be responsible for seasonal changes. In Mesoamerica, serpents were very prominent and were viewed as powerful beings with supernatural abilities. One of the most important deities was the feathered serpent, which was significant Quiche, Mayan, Aztecs, and Yucatec Mayans. And finally, we have serpents in the Bible, where we're going to see a change here. A lot of these older serpent representations were very positive and mystical. Now, in the Bible, they're going to be, the script is going to be flipped here, and they're going to be portrayed as evil. And in both the Old and New Testament, serpents are portrayed as evil and represent temptation, trickery, sin, and the underworld. The best example would be the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, which pretty much everybody's familiar with. Eve was tricked into eating the forbidden fruit by a serpent. After this sinful act, God banished them from paradise as punishment. They were no longer immortal and had to suffer a lifetime of hard labor ending in death. And I always wondered, if God is a forgiving God, why did he just banish them out of there? But I think it has something to do with the fact that they didn't really take responsibility. I think Eve was like, the snake made me do it. And then Adam was like, I didn't want to do it. She made me do it. And so instead of taking responsibility and being like, I'm sorry, we made a mistake, God was like, all right, y'all are out of here. There's enough of that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Since ancient times, snakes have been viewed with fascination and revulsion as a symbolic and complex creature. They can represent spiritual growth, fertility, healing, duality and balance, protection, rebirth, and rejuvenation, as is represented by their shedding of the skin, deceit, and wisdom. Serpent's appearance, shape, natural habitat, and skin shedding ability all contribute to this complex symbolism. And
one of the most fascinating things I found while doing some of this digging was that the shedding of the skin of the snake, well, their continuous growth, which is super symbolic. They never stop growing until they die. Like they keep growing. Their bodies keep getting bigger and they keep getting bigger, which looking at different things like Kundalini and things and that internal snake, or that there's the snakes on the inside of the earth with the internal wisdom, is really, really powerful. But another really cool association is the association with the moon and the snake, and that the snakes shed their skin and with the moon cycles, and so they're directly connected to that as they're nocturnal beings. I think that has something to do with it as well. They shed their skin at night as well, and so there's something really, really beautiful about that, and the spirit of the snake. One of the main reasons I think it's really good to do this show specifically and kind of focus on this, especially as we're diving into ancient Ireland and Scotland and the Tuatha De Danann and all of that goodness, is to shed some light and take away some of the demonization of dragons and snakes, and see how they might have played a role in a prior matriarchal society. And that's also ran by the moon. There's a lot of functions with that. So man, that was great, Indy. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to just go on with that sheddy info.
Yeah. All right. So that was everything for the different areas around the world. Now, there's some things I didn't mention in there, like the ancient Minoan culture was represented by a woman was holding a snake, and she would leave her breast bare, not covering her breast, but she was fully dressed. She had a dress on and maybe even sleeves. And that was one of the prominent figures of the Minoan culture. There's also Abraxas, who is portrayed as having snakes for legs. And then she held a whip in one hand and a weapon in the other, maybe a sword, I believe. But she was actually, I think, she had a rooster head.
Yeah, perfect embodiment of the Gnostic god of enlightenment, like the ultimate.
Kind of like Baphomet. Not at all.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's like perfectly hermaphroditic. It's not any specific gender. It has the head of the rooster, which is like the symbolism of wisdom in the morning, and the snakes are the symbolism of the night. So you have like the sun symbolism with the rooster and the bird, and then you have the night symbolism, the dark. And some depictions of Abraxas that I've seen are many snake legs that are actually twirling, and so it's like they're mating. So the legs are mating and they're having sex.
Wow.
And
Or
super fascinating. Yeah. Oh, and they're kind of like tangled roots. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's true. That's a good way to look at it. Man, yeah, a lot of
like
stuff
what came
there.
first, the chicken or the egg? The roots came and hatched the chicken.
Same thing goes with the snake too, right? Snakes lay eggs. It's like, what came first, the egg or the snake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, you got some juice for us today, brother? Actually, well, sorry, we got to introduce our buddy.
Elsie King says Abraxas is the world axis. Abra means to open, and axis is the axis of the world. So to open the axis would be Abraxas. So what is so you got to go to the center. This is like the meaning of vitriol too, where you have to cleanse yourself to get into the whatchamacallit. I'll look it up because I can't remember.
That's cool. I didn't know that. The axis.
Well, and that's what we use for terminology for everything, right? Like you need to find your center. You need to center yourself. So I think it is fit into that sort of fractal nature of things.
Yeah, we talked about this last night, huh?
Yeah, we touched on that.
And Abraxas starts with Abra.
I just want to let everybody know, if you're watching this, if you could do a favor and share it to Telegram or whatever, to a homie, something like that, that would be really cool. Much love to you guys for showing up, showing out. It's amazing and a blessing to always be here. Also, if you want to join the chat, the link is in the Telegram group, and which is in the description of the video. And you guys can gladly come on here and tell us any stories or what you believe about snakes, and even if you've had any beautiful snake encounters. And yeah, so Nomad, how you doing, brother? What's going on with you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just got back from the beach. Can't complain.
From the beach, bro?
Yeah, I had to get some swimming in.
Oh, goodness. I'm jellier than two teddy bears on a young lass's bed as she goes to sleep. She's like, oh, I'm going to sleep with this teddy bear. The other teddy bear's lonely. Lonely. And I'm that other teddy bear. You're the one over here getting the snuggles from the ocean.
Yeah, the waves be mad snuggling. They were knocking me over. I got thrashed today. Oh man, it was bad. I was couldn't breathe for a while. They were just but it's so fun. Just like sparring with the waves.
Yeah. Yeah, where do you go down? You go Kukio over there? You go Kuabe? Where you go?
A few different ones. Today we hit a Hapuna. We tried a few other ones and they weren't they were like full. So went to Hapuna. That one's usually open.
Nice.
Well, yeah, it can be crowded, but if you go to the area where there's no lifeguards, it's usually a little better.
Nice. Beautiful. Well, let's see. I got some screen sharing, I guess. You can get going on this.
Here I have the vitriol, the acronym.
Oh, get on it.
Vitriol is an acronym for Visita Interiora Terrae Rectificando Invenis Occultum Lapidum, which translates into visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying what you find there, you'll discover the hidden stone. The 7-letter acronym vitriol is an actual form of sulfuric acid. It is considered a core medium of alteration and is seen as the symbolic secret fire that guides us towards spiritual excellence. This motto was first heard of in La Azoth des Philosophis by the 15th century alchemist Basilius Valentinus.
Cool.
Oh, that was Nelly's one OG, Basil Valentine.
It was talking about the hidden stone, Dan, right? And last night you and I were talking a little bit about how God gives you a new name on the white stone. And, Jesus went down into the earth when he was crucified and then came up and ascended, right? So I think all of these mythologies do seem to correlate quite strongly.
Yeah, I remember also I was telling you last night that I think the Lucifer is associated with the moon. And then here Roman said like the serpent is shedding its skin during the new moon phases. Or so that has also correlations to the moon. And then you have the serpent in the Garden of Eden. So you kind of have like this Luciferian figure within the garden and within the snake symbology and this archetype. So I think maybe when we think of Lucifer, it has more to do with the archetype of the moon, or and then that's why it has all these different correlations to serpents and all these other things. Because we were talking about like last night, what is God and what is to you and everything, and so I was mentioning that the sun is God and then the moon is Lucifer. And the moon wanted to overtake the sun, but could never overtake the sun. But Lucifer is also known as the light bearer. So what does the moon do? The moon bears the light of the sun. So it is the light bearer.
Indeed. And like the Islamic symbol of the moon with the star inside, it's actually representative of the morning star, which is usually Venus. And it's most bright in the twilight hours. Bringer of light during the twilight, which is sacred time.
Venus always hangs out with the moon.
With Lucifer sometimes, right? Yeah.
It's usually married to his consort.
That's we were talking to the other day.
Just like Venus always hangs out with the moon.
About exactly, and it comes out in the evening and in the morning, and we were talking about like there's the association they call the morning star and the evening star. It's the same star, but they have like one of them associates Lucifer and the other one associates Jesus. The ringing of the vesper bells at night in the church is right when the sun would go down, and the evening star is shining, and it's time to start some of our practices. And then I was looking up that, and the evening stars associated with Jesus and going to church, and that was probably a later like Saxonized iteration, but it's like the same star, but then these two different entities attached to it, which is interesting.
You're talking about also the Abraxas and how the chicken is associated with the morning and the snakes with the sun or the moon. And so you have like Solomon again, the soul and the moon, right? Solomon.
Yeah.
So you have the bringing together of this moon energy and the sun energy to form this harmony or balance. Whereas some are strictly sun cults or some are strictly moon cults. Now you have this connection between the sun and the moon, and you're bringing together both energies in your everyday religion or ceremonies or practices.
Absolutely. It's that unity, the double snake, the caduceus, the dueling dragons of the internal fire. let me read here before we get too far away, because I brought this article up because Indy was bringing up the Minoans, and this correlates to a lot of what we're talking about with the moon and snake shedding skin.
I'm a
so
snake.
He's a snake. He's a snake. Baby, you're a snake. Anyways, Manoah was perhaps let me get it. Let me get into it, baby. All right. Manoah was perhaps the first primary society ruled by women. My favorite. The mysterious civilization thrived on the island of Crete and other Aegean islands, preceding ancient Greece. The snake goddess is a vivid symbol of this culture and its connection with life force and primal energy. Snake has long been associated with healing, transition, and transformation. It is a bridge between worlds and carries profound spiritual wisdom. The snake sheds its skin as it grows. During its shedding, it is vulnerable and its eyes cloud for over 3 to 4 days, but it reemerges whole. The snake goddess of Manoah embodies the power of including spiritual and physical metamorphosis. The Minoan goddess in her butterfly form is represented by a labrys, a double axe with blades emerging like 2 wings. This mighty symbol of the goddess as a butterfly stands for transformation in all of its stages and celebrates rebirth inherent to the process. The butterfly's cycle from egg to caterpillar and a chrysalis into delicate wings of endurance mirrors our soul's evolution and cycles of life. The labrys is a powerful Minoan symbol, akin to the cross of Christianity and the crescent of Islam. Prior to the decline of this civilization, the labrys was never depicted in the hands of man. It was frequently held by a woman, and woman represents the feminine form and everything that changes. It's unclear why the Minoan period ended. Mystery beckons us forward, reminding us of our own mystery. Manoah reconnects us with our ability to transform, leaving only traces of evidence to what we once were. We, just as she, can change, appear, and disappear. As a descendant of Manoah, I am immediately connected with her symbols, which led us to descend into the depths of the void, the center of ourselves, to come out renewed, enlightened, and whole. We all transform and shapeshift, becoming more of our true selves. Through periods of dissolving and the caterpillar and the cocoon, we surrender our current form to alchemize in miraculous ways. No part of us is lost, but the new version can look and feel drastically different, just as we imagine it does for the butterfly emerging anew on wings that will carry us across the sky and across the world.
I love that.
So that's right. That's beautiful. Because something I think is important to bring up, why I was saying it is like, I don't like to, when there's so much demonization on the snake and the serpent, it's sad because a lot of times it's associated with the mother goddesses, and I don't like associating women with demonization, because it's been happening for a very long time, stripping the beauty of creation away from its power. And women are powerful. They create and harbor life. And that's absolutely what the egg and the snake and a lot of the things about the Orphic egg with the snake wrapping around it and this internal serpent wisdom that comes from within. The Oracle of Delphi was a woman. She was a woman shaman. And she was attuned to the inner wisdom of the earth and would be the one who communicates the earthen wisdom through her. And that is like, so a lot of the symbolization we get is the changing of a matriarchal society where we appreciated and held women on a high, beautiful standard, giving them the power that they rightfully deserve. And then going into this patriarchal society in which we have, and stripping away even the Gnostics, who obviously worshipped, and Gnostics were the Gnostic Christians. They worshipped a snake. Abraxas was a snake god. It had snake legs. So that's why I think it's really important to share the embodiment of the divine feminine with these serpent energies and the moon and the shedding and the transformation and letting down our walls to say, hey, I'm vulnerable during this time of growth. but that's what's going to allow me to transform into the next stage of awesomeness, you know, and that's what I'm all about on the serpent energies today.
I can't recall where it was, but I'm not sure if it was biblical or not. Maybe Nomad could help me out with this, but it said that Satan, I think, or Lucifer, one of the two, were a dragon at one point, but God cut off its legs to make it crawl upon the ground.
Yeah. So after the serpent had deceived Adam and Eve, it was, you know, the story goes that it was essentially cursed to slither on the ground. Yeah. So essentially what you just said. And that could be looked at as a lot of ways, right? Because we have a lot of depictions of sort of these serpentine creatures that do have legs. Is it Marduk? Marduk, I think, is one that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah. Does he? That's interesting. I wanted to say, though, too, that serpent and dragons, that's why I wanted to bring up that idea there, is because the dragon lines and the serpent energy, the dragon lines of the earth and the serpent energy also has a correlation to each other, because using dowsing rods that could be seen as like holding two serpents, and finding these ley lines or these energetical points. It also has to do with sexual energy. I think we talked about that last week with the dragons, but the sexual energy of abstaining and from spilling your seed and keeping that inside, so that it rises up your vertebrae and into your crown chakra, so you can have enlightenment. So that's another interesting aspect. So when we talk about all these serpent mythologies and the serpent gods, and like Quetzalcoatl, the plume serpent, and Seraphim, these other types of biblical serpent beings, you see they're creators and they're destroyers, but that's like what energy is, right? Energy can be harmful or it can be good. Along with everything, it has a duality to it. Oftentimes we want to associate with one or the other, but we're stuck in this superhero and villain type vibe. But there's always two different sides to it. So the energies are prolific around, and I kind of lost my train there, but.
Well, can I touch on something there? You mentioned this.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Seraphim. So that's like, in my opinion, that could have been like the fallen angels, right? And they were enlightened. They were very wise. They were, you know, they came from God. Like they were meant to take care of this world and to, you know, like we're supposed to take care of this earth. They were supposed to take care of us. That's kind of how I see it. And I think there were some of them who wanted the glory for themselves. And so they took that knowledge and they took advantage of it. That's just one theory I have, right? And I think it goes back to saying what you were just saying. We shouldn't judge just on the symbol alone, but on the fruits that those entities are bearing and the stories that they tell us and how they resonate with us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yo. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's the thing is like, I just like anything, I think there's always going to be a light and what you might consider to be like a dark or whatever, you know, there's going to be all of it. And that the ancient Celtics believed in the Trinity and the Triquarta, which is a very famous symbol, often associated with Celtic knots, that if you go back far enough, that was tied to the triple goddess directly associated with the moon and those phases and those three different faces. And as time went on, it was not worshipped. It wasn't worshipped. It was actually looked upon as fearsome. And when death was like, you know, we're trying to constantly evade death, which is something I go back and forth on. It's like immortality. Okay, let's do immortality. Let's find a philosopher's stone. Let's live forever. But also at the same time, it's like, fuck it. Like, I'm not scared of death. Death is something so natural. Yes, I'll feel saddened for a bit as you know, this is happening. And, you know, I feel this certain way about it. But in the end, I'm like, Well, I've always wanted to peek the veil, and I think that's what shedding your skin is, you know, like the Manly P. Hall depiction of that, you know, the guy peeking through the veil. It's like you're shedding your skin, you're growing, and so it's like that vulnerability yet again. I know I said it earlier, but it's super important because you let your guard down, you take your skin off for a bit, you let anything hit you and affect you as you're going through that growth period, and you get your skin hard again, and that's a new you, and that's a new part of the growth.
Yeah, with the triple goddess too, I'm going to riff on that a little bit. The triple goddess is a deity or deity archetype revered in many neo-pagan religious and spiritual traditions. In common neo-pagan uses, the triple goddess is viewed as the triunity of three distinct aspects or figures united in one being. These three figures are often described as the maiden, the mother, and the crone, each of which symbolize both a separate stage in the female cycle and phase of the moon, and often rules one of the realms of heavens, earth, and underworld. In various forms of Wicca, her masculine consort is the horned god. The triple goddess is goddess of the moon, the earth, and childbirth. The symbols are crescent, full and dark moon, crescent, half, and full moon, and waxing, full, and waning moons. The triple goddess was the subject of much of the writing of early and middle 20th century poet, novelist, and mythographer Robert Graves. Blah blah blah. But that's what the triple goddess is. I was wondering what the triple goddess, what three deities it represents. So that goes back to like the three fates and the Maori, the three mothers. So it's interesting because when we looked into like the three fates are outside of the realm of gods. They're the ones that have all the strings, the puppet strings, and control even the gods. Even the gods can't coerce or, try to get the three mothers to change the course of fate or destiny. It's already weaved out by the three mothers.
Mm-hmm. Three mothers being Artemis, also known as Diana, Hecate, and Selene, traditionally. Just a couple different versions. But yeah, that's fascinating. We mentioned earlier Marduk being associated with the serpent, and he did actually represent himself by what's called the snake dragon, which was cooked into some of the bricks that he used.
Yeah, from Tishpak, I just wanted to mention that was like the original god that he had taken that icon from. I have it pulled up here if you want to add it, homie.
Now, he was also
one second,
either the son or the grandson of Enki or Enlil, who was also represented by the serpent. Enki was having a serpent tail, and Marduk is sometimes said to be the son of Enlil, but it's usually Enki, as you mentioned. But it's said that Enlil, his son, Ningshita, also carried the winding serpent staff, just like Enki. And so it seems that the sons of Enki and Enlil kind of switched roles and archetypes and then ended up following those archetypes. So Enki being the savior, and then his nephew, Ningshita, followed in his footsteps, who some people believe to be Thoth, who was originally known as And actually, their mother of Enki, Tiamat, was portrayed as a dragon or a serpent. And it's thought that she's portrayed in the Bible as the Leviathan, the sea serpent. And it's actually considered that in the Enuma Elish, that they refer to Tiamat as a planet that was destroyed and crushed into what's now the asteroid belt, which was made from the lower waters, and the upper waters came to bombard the earth and create the earth that we know today. And the moon that we have is thought to have come from Tiamat, which is also known as Phaeton by the Greeks, and some refer to it as Lucifer, which may have been the original morning star, which was crushed by Nibiru, which was later known as Marduk.
Moon is also called Kingu.
Kingu, yeah. Kingu. Kingu, I believe, helped Tiamat when she was trying to battle against Enki and Leal and Marduk. And they ended up using some of the blood of Kingu to create the human race, according to their stories.
So the blood of the moon.
Yeah.
And Enki and
look at this dream
often...
that Shannon shared here. It's fascinating. When I was younger, I dreamt of 2 giant snakes, metallic colors, covered in jewels, trying to climb up this hole in the earth, a tall stone well, jewels and coins all over the water pool at the base. That's a pretty significant dream, Shannon.
That's wild. What does it mean?
Yeah. I had an interesting dream the other night. I don't know if it really correlates with this, but with this snake symbology, but I was present for the creation of mankind, and the 2 pillars of Joachim and Boaz were the 2 pillars were actually not necessarily pillars, but these like machines that created life. And there was this weird type of scroll thing, or if you remember like those little like clue boxes from like the Da Vinci Code, how it has like all the letters around it and like a scroll, and then you have to fashion the letters and then it opens something. Well, you would write the name of that creature on it, or of what you're creating, and you'd put that in there, and then it would like basically
cryptex.
It was like a 3D printer type of fucking thing, and it would create that being within that like cylinder, and then it would come out. And so
nice.
That's
a fucking cool dream, dude. That's a super. I love ciphers. I love ciphers and the history of cipher boxes and cryptexes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And that dates back all the way to the creation of language. Wherever language and written history was beginning, cipher boxes were there. There's always been code when language was involved. It's so funny because it's serpentine, like people consider this, you're a snake, you're slippery. And I think the Greek or Latin term itself comes from to be sneaky, but that's what the higher powers have always tried to do. So there we are again, this syncretic type of like higher power, what we call like reptile people, right? This is where we're getting that like that averse side of what we might consider the snake or reptile feminine energy of a matriarchal society. You have what people call like these reptiles, but it's the patriarch, right? Or it's like these higher echelons of vampires and things, with the fangs, which also is snake related. So that's really interesting. These sneaky snakes of the patriarchal society. It's both, it's both. I don't fucking know. Like I said, everybody, this is a huge topic. There's no way we'll get into be able to break it all down in one episode. It's, maybe we'll do masculine snake, feminine snake, but we should dedicate an entire Sunday slow burn to ciphers and cipher boxes of history, because it's super fascinating.
Oh yeah, I would like to get into that. I don't know a whole lot about that particularly. If anybody else has any more, you can go for it. But I do have this snake Native American symbolism.
I think Nomad's been trying to get in here for a little bit here.
Yeah.
I just had a follow-up question talking about the sort of serpent in its original form. We do see sort of a lot of connections between the cat, or like the lion, and the serpent. They have similar eyes, they have fangs, they hiss. So there's a lot of correlation there. I just wonder if that sparks anything for anyone else.
Tribe of Dan.
Do they have like cat symbol?
Yeah, they were said to go to Laish. They took over the town of Laish and renamed it Dan. But if you look up what Laish means in the Hebrew, or whatever the language was at the time, it means lion. And so they became the lions. And then there's also more like cat symbolism with them, within like the shields and stuff like that of some of the northwestern European countries, they have these 3 lions on them. So there's and then I think in Denmark it's said that the something to do with the Denmark motto is something to do with a lion. I can't recall off the top
traditionally the lion and the snake are interconnected in a large way, going back to Enki and Enlil. Enlil being represented by the lion or the eagle, which is sometimes associated with a scorpion, and Enki being associated with the dragon or the snake. And these are feuding brothers. And so we see that throughout time. There's different rulers of society. Right now, we're kind of in an Enlilite society. We see a lot of eagles and lions represented by heraldry and vexillology, but we do see some dragons and snakes as well. And so they're both there. They're kind of warring factions that are kind of both present amongst the government. And so they are definitely interconnected. But I know that there's the bull with a serpent tail.
Oh, okay. Word. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. What's the story with the bull and the serpent tail?
Let me pull this up here. This is fascinating. I think it goes back to Rome.
Before we get into that too, just real quick, just want to say, just because alchemy is on the table when we're talking lion and snake. I know that snake has a mercurial representative, and generally lion is like son of or representative of the sun. There's a green lion, there's a yellow lion, but there's also a red lion. And I think there's probably many colors, but and the snake too. And it's kind of like could be explaining and part of the Philosopher's Stone of the alchemical.
And I think the red lion represents Babylon, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of time the eagle, which is sometimes a representation of Enlil, is shown as holding the snake. And that's on the Mexican flag. Now, I just wanted to touch on this bull with the serpent tail before Dan gets into this Native American thing that I'm looking forward to hear about. That's just a short thing.
Go ahead. So. Now I'm looking for something else. So take your time.
Okay. The bull with the serpent tail is known as Ophiotaros. It was a monster born with 4 parts of a black bull and the tail of a serpent. It was slain by a giant ally of the Titans who hoped to sacrifice its guts in a rite which would have ensured victory against Zeus. However, the god's kite stole the parts away, thwarting the plan, and Ophiotaros was presumably set amongst the stars as the constellation Taurus, which was sometimes envisioned as the serpent-tailed bull, alongside the kite of Lyra and the altar of Ara. This story may have been in part the lost Greek epic known as Titanomachia, the War of the Titans, in which the giant Aegeon appeared as an ally of the Titans. Ovid names Aegeon Briareus in the passage, who is actually his son, both the Titanomachia and the Iliad epics. So that's interesting, associated with the Taurus constellation. That actually ties back to the Greek, which is a very fascinating story. But we mentioned earlier the Seraphim.
Go ahead.
And the Seraphim actually were some of the highest angels that came before the Nephilim, who were considered the fallen angels. But Lucifer himself was considered a Seraphim at one point. And the popular, well-known angels that we hear of that visited Abraham, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, I believe there may have been another, were Seraphim.
Yes, totally. And that's why I think, only a third of the angels fell. So that's why I think there is I think that's why the serpent is such a sort of dualistic symbol, right? Because there were some that were using their powers for good and some that were using them for bad. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to touch on that too, because that's a great point to bring up, brother, is like, you could think of it like a tool, or, we don't like the word weapon, because it's it's like, how do you decide to use the hammer? Is it to build a house, to build the temple, or is it to bash somebody's fucking head in? And I think there's either or. I think you're going to see serpents and snakes because is like part of the eternal wisdom of just consciousness. That is one of the bottom line symbologies of serpent wisdom. It is just primordial earth and consciousness. I think the separation between earth and the bird is, one is earth and consciousness, and one is celestial. One is like something that is completely grounded here in the goodness of reality on earth, and that is the communication to the earth. But I think there's also the celestial information that's coming from all of the other sources in the ether, and then the bonding of the two, something along those lines. So I think the motif is going to be almost everything. There's probably serpentine motifs in damn near all mythologies and in every story almost.
Absolutely. And sometimes we see the feathered serpent, which is kind of an integration of the serpent and the bird. Maybe the rising serpent.
Yep.
Yeah.
The exact creation story, right?
Yeah.
And that could also just be symbolic of like a floating serpent. Like dragons are often depicted without wings and stuff, but they're like floating or like flying. And I have had an encounter with a serpent entity off of some mushrooms, allegedly.
Tell us that.
It was quite the experience. So
how was it you're allegedly on mushrooms?
just covering. But anyways, what had happened was I started tripping mad, and I was still very cognitive. Like I was lucid. I knew what was going on. It was like I was in a dream, but I was aware of it. And I was just in my apartment. This was in Seattle, Washington at the time. And I was all alone. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this serpent entity just flashed right in front of me, like in my apartment. It was what's like augmented reality, right? It was like I could see everything normal, but then I had this serpent entity that was also within my peripheral, and I would like look sideways, nothing there, look back, and it's in the same spot. And sort of we were telepathically connected, right? When it's not like words, you just understand, you're like connected. And the statement that it was saying to me was, I can give you knowledge and wisdom beyond anything you've ever imagined. And for me, I was just in a place where I wasn't looking for that. I've found that sometimes, first of all, if you're offering something like that, it just seemed very, like they probably want something in return, or at least that's the story you often hear, right? So I denied it. But when I denied it, I had like this flash of vision of like every single culture from like beginning in Genesis all the way through Rome and Greek and all of this, and how the serpent entity had been being channeled and sort of guiding all of these cultures and societies. And then I did a bunch of research after this vision, and I learned about like what is it in Greek? The
Abathis?
No, that's Egypt. Wow, why am I blanking on this? The Python, where the Oracle of Delphi. Okay. Anyway, so the Oracle of Delphi was essentially raising up this entity out of the earth, this serpent entity, and getting knowledge and wisdom from it. And then all of these rulers from around the world would come there to get advice and wisdom on how to rule. And so I don't know, it's just crazy having that vision and then like going back into history and seeing that actually happened. And it was very detailed also, because the snake had like a diamond shaped, and it looked, I had to research because I didn't know anything about snakes, but it looked to me like a python. So when I started to do all this research, figuring out it looked like a python, and then figuring out that the Delphi spirit that was being summoned up was a python. It was a great python that was slain by Apollo, is the story, right?
Yeah, I think his name is Typhon. Is that right?
The python's name? Maybe. I'm not sure of the monsters or the python's name. Yeah, that could definitely be it. So yeah, just a random crazy experience I had, but it was
That's awesome.
It was so cool. Something to. What do you guys think of that?
I know snakes are often seen by people that take ayahuasca, and they're associated with ayahuasca coming from the vine. And it's said that tobacco, which is integral in the ceremony of ayahuasca, is the grandmother of the snake, they say. So there's a lot of snake symbology in the ayahuasca ceremonies. And it doesn't surprise me that it's something that people see on psychedelics. It's a very prominent figure of mysticism and spiritual meaning.
So I kind of wonder if perhaps the Seraphim were wiped out in the flood in this physical reality, but they still are eternal spirits. And so they are still there and able to communicate with us. That's kind of one of the hypotheses I have. But it was kind of just interesting because the serpent was very vivid, very clear, and it was like floating, right? And so when you think of a dragon, that's very much what it looked like. It was like in the air, no wings or actual feathers, but that's like what it looked like.
I had an experience like that before one time on LSD. Where I saw two floating dragons alongside me, and one was white, one was black.
Wow!
I had an idea once that the Seraphim were actually a female lineage, or at least they believed in they had like a female deity, which kind of goes back to like Tribe of Dan a little bit and how they worship Danu and all these mother type goddesses that the ancients believed in. So like with Seraphim, I know it means something totally different when you break the word down, but for my weak ass way of breaking it down, it was Sarah, which means the princess, and so to me it was like maybe a clan that represented femininity and the serpent energy. And so when we talk about it being gone, it's gone from our perspective, just like it is today, of how we don't embody that female matriarchy anymore. It's now a patriarchy, so we kind of dismiss it. So whether or not the Seraphim are still around or not, they obviously are all around us. They're our girlfriends and our mothers and sisters. But
yay!
In my thought process, that could be completely wrong, but that's kind of how I interpreted it, anyways, from my own meaning.
Yeah, you could be onto something with that, because they were some of the first of the angels, and so yeah, that's when the herstory was changed to a history. See a lot of names and genders. But yeah,
because what are the other? There's the Seraphim, the Nephilim.
There's also the Cherubim and the Raphaim.
Raphaim is the other one,
yeah.
And those are like the sun toters.
Sa and Ra. Well, Rapha means healing, from what I understand. So the Raphaim, kind of my theory on them is that they were able to heal. Not so much that they healed, but maybe they were able to heal. Or it could have been both. They could have used the powers for both.
Yeah, we could be talking about three like mystic type groups that were using different practices to, like, healing, herbalism. There's all these different types of mystic, what do you call it? Like jobs, I guess you could call it. And like maybe each one of those groups had like its own perceived job or knowledge that they were trying to transpose to the other people. But the picture that Roman has been showing up on screen for a while is the Leonis Belagusis. And it's probably the most famous and among the most elaborate of all cartographic curiosities. The Leo served as a national icon for the nascent Dutch Republic, so it is hardly surprising that not only did the maps encapsulate the hopes, aspirations, and fears of their designers, but also had lavished on them all of the care and attention of the best of the Dutch map engravers. So what you have is, we were talking about the lion and the serpent, and Denmark is named after the tribe of Dan, and that's who the Dutch are. So when they're embodying this lion archetype, the Leo, you can see like the tribe of Dan also has a lion or a serpent as one of their flags, as well as a horse and an eagle. So it's interesting that it becomes this lion figure. But there's also like a saying, I think, in the Bible, like the lion of Judah, and it's usually associated with the tribe of Judah, the lion. But it's very interesting to me that it also becomes associated with the tribe of Dan. And it almost feels to me like a warrior or a protector of some sorts. And when you go to Egypt, there's the lion Sphinx which has associations of guarding knowledge or something under its paw, which is interesting because when you get into like the Druid symbolism and whatnot, and how they were magi and they were protecting the secrets of all this knowledge, and then they're inevitably turned up into some of the secret societies, you can see that they're protectors of this knowledge, and the lion represents the protection or the harboring of this idea of these esoteric ideas.
Dan, I asked a guest once, and I'll have to go back and revisit this episode to get the answer, but I do remember asking them how and why did the symbol for the tribe of Dan change from the serpent to the eagle? And I feel like I remember there was like one specific guy who just really didn't like serpents, and and so they ended up just like changing the whole brand essentially to like eagles.
That's funny to me, but because alchemically, like the serpent represents the ground or the underground, right? Because they have little dens that they live in, the dens, and then and then they crawl upon the earth. Then you have the horse that runs across the earth, and then you have the eagle that soars in the sky. So it's like the three different elemental alchemical processes of earth, land, and underground.
Or if you're Odin, your horse transports you as a Merkabah to other dimensions.
Right.
Well, then maybe that was the tribe of Dan literally going through the process, right? As they resonated with different symbols, you know, they're changing, right? And so I think that's also maybe something we can take from the serpent is it does have a purpose, but maybe, you know, it is on sort of that Mercury level where it's causing sort of Mercury like dissolves, right? It's like a poison in a way. So it's taking out, it's refining. So I think that's kind of interesting that you bring that up, and that makes total sense how that alchemical process has been sort of captured through the symbolism throughout the time of the tribe of Dan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even like with the griffin is like a flying lion, right? I think sometimes this has like a snake tail even, but the griffin is associated with like Tartaria. So what you have is like the king of the land and the king of the sky putting together in one motif, showing that they control the heavens and the land. It's also that dual symbolism combined again, the Solomon, but instead of being the moon and the sun, now you have land and sky.
So you got sky, sun, the earth, and the snake is the internal.
But it goes on land and it goes underground. So it has like, it also has that duality within itself where the other ones just have that one purpose. The snake has also it's above and below at the same time.
The creation story of some of the creation stories I know in parts of Africa, and we touched on this a little bit last weekend, of the rainbow snake, which, you know, is
flying rainbow snake lasagna.
Yeah, the flying rainbow lasagna. For anybody who doesn't know, flying rainbow lasagna is a wonderful guest that we had on the show, Aurora, talk about her experience dying and like being basically taking over the body as another spiritual entity. Super interesting. But the rainbow snake, you know, sounds a lot like the rainbow bridge, right? Or the crystal bridge, this kind of motif of the gateway to the gods, or the spectrum. Something else I was kind of pondering the other day was, you know, there's this whole motif of the dark side of the moon, and you have Pink Floyd that has the album, but also their other main symbol is Newton's prism, and the prism that shines the light spectrum on the other side. And I was like, well, that's interesting because the moon is primarily made of quartz, and it's heavy silica, which means it's just pure crystal. And we've had some geodes come back from the moon, and it's like just broken open, just beautiful crystals inside. So it's like just beaming energy, just massive. And quartz it can hold massive amounts of information in it. Endless amounts of information can be put in the quartz. And they say that some of the secrets of why They won't reveal the hippie woo-woo, thing is not pseudoscience, is because we wouldn't need to buy memory cards anymore, because we would just be able to like properly store it into crystals. Anyways, I was thinking of the way that Newton's prism, I think what Pink Floyd was getting at is, if it's this thing, and also we use sand to make windows, right? Silica is sand, it's heavy silica. Silica is crystal. Just depends on what point of its of that we've heated it up to, where it's at in its stage. So you can look at the moon like a window, and if it's an optical tool, then in theory, the way that the light spectrum that would come from the sunlight, it goes in one beam and it comes out a spectrum on the other side. I think that would be something that Pink Floyd was alluding to, and then therefore we get that reflection. Something else is similar is in the windows of the cathedrals. The cathedrals were made purposefully to allow light inside, as well as many other reasons, and not just sunlight, but also moonlight. And the way that the light would refract from the rose window to basically give you that idea of multiple rays coming through and giving you that full spectrum prism light and energy reflecting onto the altar. Well, the nanoparticles, they would smash up gold and silver and these other really high conductive materials into the windows, thus giving it even more of a different spectrum than you would if you had just a pure piece of glass. So it's like there's all these different motifs, and then you start to think about, well, the rainbow bridge, right, or the rainbow snake, or this crystal bridge, and then kind of connecting all those dots together, that the moon as a conscious gateway, as one of these gateways like to enter and lens. Yeah, exactly. For your spirit, for your soul, we can travel to the moon, I feel like, astrally. And yes, so
anyway, I've had a similar thing on that. The moon is like a giant projection screen that is creating the Earth itself. Roman? Absolutely.
I've had similar thought. Like, what if we are those fractions of light, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Each having our own characteristics, and the way we sort of find our center, find that whole feeling, is when we combine all of those different aspects and get back to that sort of pure white light, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something to that for sure.
Yep.
The moon might also be seen as a mirror. It's also glass.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just a different part of
where
is it at?
Portal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Some people can see it to be the gate. The
gates.
The heavens. It blocks us from being able to travel outside of the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like your Ellis Island, right? Like you got to go through Ellis Island first.
Yeah.
To get to America, you got to go through the moon to get through the cosmos. Yeah, there's an interesting connection too. Somebody brought up our buddy Gabe PK. He said Pink Floyd's got to be an anagram for something. Where's Gabe? Well, here's a fun connection that was only brought to me through Gabe's work. Is we're just talking about the moon, and the moon is a gateway for the soul and the spirit. And Hawaii, more specifically Kauai, has been known to be the island of souls for the path of souls, not to be confused with the mounds and the path of souls for the mound building cultures and that ceremony that happens on the winter solstice. But there's been people who have said to see these like kind of like lights go from the island of Kauai into the sky. Also, not to mention Mark Zuckerberg, owning half of Kauai, by the way. But you'd be able to, and so in Gabe's work, he does tarot tours, where he's put the major and minor arcana of the tarot cards and superimposed it onto the North American map, and he associates the moon card with Hawaii. I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because if you look at the moon as a gateway, and where the souls need to kind of check the list, like it's like, you're almost there, but you got to stop at the moon. We'll give you a quick back massage, a cup of water, and then you're on your way to Earth to incarnate into a physical vessel. And I was like, wow. So I think there's something when it comes to, also Hawaii is loaded with rainbows. I think a lot of places on the equator are in general, but I think there's something to the moon, the rainbow bridge, and the souls, and being able to basically like to ascend or whatever, like even if it's just for a moment. Ascension is a very interesting topic. When you ascend, are you done with this life? Can you go back? Like, where's the finish point?
I like to think we retain some sort of memory, but it's like, you don't remember all of your memories from your past, but you sort of retain who you are still, you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of how it'll be. Like, you'll retain your essence, but you're not gonna maybe remember all of the terrible bad things and all of the minutia that's not really relevant. It'll probably be like a cleansing of the hard drive, if you will.
You got to have that. You have to cleanse, and that's what the serpent energy is about too. So that's good to bring that earlier up.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, it's like that cleansing of the hard drive through the birthing process, is we lose our memory from our past lives or whatnot, if you believe in the reincarnation, because when we're talking to Martin, he was talking about how there was this a guy who said that he had lived through many lives, and he was Lu 2,800 years ago. And it's almost like, well, what if you could keep your consciousness from the time you were ultimately conceived, and through your past lives you just continue on with your same consciousness through your new body? Is that what like immortality actually is? And not actually just staying in the same skin suit for your whole lifespan, but
I think
bringing your conscious down. Because there was a monk in like Tibet, I believe, who was a 5-year-old kid who recalled he had a whole memory from his past life of when he was a Buddhist monk. So, and they checked it out, and sure enough, he knew everything that had happened to him in his past life, and he could recollect everything, and he had all of this knowledge that like a 5-year-old should not possess. It's like, how was he able to bring all of these memories back with him? So if you can somehow bring these memory back, maybe through meditation or through the process of reaching a spiritual climax or nirvana, maybe that is the ultimate goal, so that way you can come back with this knowledge.
One thing I will also say on that, this is just a thing that I've had sort of a personal check on that kind of topic. I think it is also possible that there are entities that have been around since the beginning of time and have experienced multiple people's lives and are able to sort of give you that information if they want to sort of make you think you were that person. And this is just a theory, right? I'm just throwing it out there, but I think that's something to consider as well. And then with the sort of holding on to your consciousness, I think we do see, ancient people trying to accomplish that. And I don't know, do you guys think that's like a good thing? Like, I kind of like the natural system. I think that there is sort of intentionality behind us perhaps forgetting certain aspects as we like move on to the next step. And like just experiencing new things and it being fresh, right? But still kind of maintaining that core. Do you think it would be more valuable to just kind of retain everything? Like, it seems like Neuralink is kind of the next step towards that, right?
Mm-hmm. Possibly. I know.
Yes. But
doing a study with 2,500 cases of children's testimonies of their past lives right now, and there's a really good video about that too on YouTube. But there's some cases.
I would say the Neuralink is a synthetic technological advancement to keep your memories, but through spirituality you're able to attain that through work. And so that is this like the spiritual gift or essence that you're trying to attain in this life. So if you use some synthetic thing like Neuralink or or something else to travel with instead of using your spiritual awakening to do that, then you're just faking it to make it, and you're not actually doing the work to try to attain those things.
Right.
So in that sense, it's kind of like to me, that's like an evil thing.
Yeah,
you're going against you're skipping nature, and you're using a cheat code. Basically, you're jumping up on top of the Mario and teleporting to level 6.
Well, if Francis Bacon would have his way, if we can learn from history, New Atlantis, right, and the story of Atlantis is falling because of their high technological advancements, and they're getting too deep into it, and and if we are in fact experiencing an Atlantean revival, yeah, exactly, you lose your society will fall. So it's interesting to see these things fold, and we're still coming on that. After getting more into the historical side of things, I was telling Dan this the other day. It's like, being into conspiracies and stuff for a while, it was just like all about conspiracy, and then started studying more about history, and then I was just like, conspiracy took the back burner. I was like, I don't even care about any of this shit anymore. Like all I care about is just like unveiling like historical and looking into it, because it's just as fascinating itself. And where I was going with that is,
whereas like conspiracies and shit, you never fucking know. You don't know what the fuck is what. But with like history and stuff, you can actually find correlations that make sense, and you can see it and show it and prove it. Whereas like, sometimes conspiracy is just grabbing at straws sometimes and like going, oh, let's see if this sticks to the wall. Absolutely. I'm going to be the first one to say some stupid shit and see if it sticks, and then I'll be right later, even though you're wrong 90 times out of 100. Then the 10 times you're right, you're like, oh yeah, I knew it. Get the fuck out of here.
I feel that. I feel like a lot of conspiracies are obfuscated with misinformation and disinformation to keep people away from finding the truth. But also history can be obfuscated with false history as well. But I feel like there's a lot less misinformation in history, but we could be wrong about that. But it's fascinating to think about that as well. I can attest to spiritually being able to ascend above what's considered to be the veil of forgetting. We're supposed to be in a time right now where we come in having forgotten all of our past lives and the onset of our lives. But through spiritual ascension, we can open those gates and lift the veil. And I've been able to do that myself and access my past lives. Now, this is subjective experience. And so objectively, we couldn't really go very far with trying to study this scientifically, but possibly with the Neuralink, if we could record our memories of a past life, we could show other people that those are valid, not just imagination. Because I know a lot of times when you have a past life experience, it's a download within a small amount of time, kind of like a dream. You can uncover an entire lifetime of experience. And I was able to do that, uncovering an experience that I had back in Lemuria as a man named Lornak. And I was a giant. We lived on the beaches, and we went out to sea every day with the dolphins to go hunting with our tridents. It was an amazing experience.
Damn.
We used the tridents at first, and it was revealed to me that I was the one to forge metal for the first time with lava by using wooden armor and a giant, large wooden scoop to grab the lava with.
Wooden?
Yeah, it was wooden and didn't have to go far. We made a mold, and next to the lava, as the lava was coming down, we made the mold before the lava came down. We used the wooden spoon to pour into the mold because the wood just burned up right away with the lava in there. So it couldn't go far with it. But it was amazing. It was just stuff you would never think of. And so that was what made me think it was definitely an authentic experience, not just my imagination, because I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, I think that is an authentic experience. Can I ask you though, Andy, do you think that was you potentially channeling another spirit that was like pre-Diluvian, a giant that was maybe wiped out and its spirit's still on Earth?
I personally don't necessarily think that we keep our identity as we get reincarnated. I feel like we have strong resonance with other individuals in the past that we have a link with, and we can access their minds through morphic resonance. Once we come into ascension, we can access other minds that have ascended. And I feel like that's what's happening. We have a strong resonance with other figures in the past, which is why multiple people can claim to have the same past life. That's just a personal theory.
I like that. I think so. I think that vibes in well with like the idea of the Akashic. You know, once you've kind of cleared that pipe, or you know, if you got like some gutters that need cleaning, the water's not flowing straight. So like once you clean it up, you're able to just connect back to that source. That's really fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah, the guy that brought me into that session.
I was thinking about that.
You open up the Akashic
halls. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that when you were talking about the moon and how the moon is all crystal and geodes and shit. Well, what if the moon is the Akashic record itself, and that's what we're connecting with the Akashic, because we're talking about the female symbolism with the moon, and Akashic also comes from like Asherah, and then if Moses was looking at a burning bush and it was Akasha, maybe he was actually tapping into the Akasha or Akashic record.
To touch on the Neuralink thing, because I have to, because you know I've been, because
he came down with horns,
a proponent with the transhumanism thing, but I think we are at a point where it's not that actually wild to have a technology that would have that function, right? I think it's not wild, but what the problem is with the technology is if it's, you know, yet again, to bring it up, the serpent energy, it's a tool. So are you going to unleash your serpent energy and just, you know, bust nut all over town and, you know, be raging out? Or are you going to bring it inside and crystallize or chrysalis within yourself and bloom into the butterfly? You know, with Neuralink, it's really, really interesting, touchy subjects, because I am still not a fan of Elon Musk. I still think he's a fucking turd, but you know, I still think, yeah. And this is on YouTube, baby. Elon Musk is a motherfucking bitch. So anyways, I digress. Somebody else, please talk.
I don't know how Elon Musk was able to make these electric cars. So many people were like killed off. They had the EV1 buried back in the 90s. The guy who created the water power car was killed off and poisoned.
He bought Elon the Musk patent. He didn't. He's
been set up for this for sure.
Yeah, he bought Tesla from these two guys. Yeah, I mean he's been incredibly set up. Also, he comes from a family of minerals, right? Miners from South Africa. So it's almost like he's been set up with this. Also, his grandparents were buddies with the Rockefellers. Yeah, kicked out of Canada
for transhumanism.
Yes, basically, right? Like that early 20th century.
He has a long history of this. He's been sort of bred for it, it seems like. And then you also have the connection with Werner von Braun having the book Mars, and it talks about an entity called Elon who leads everyone to Mars and is like the leader. So there's a lot of like weird, you know, kind of history predictive programming for this, it seems.
Absolutely. Some people time in with El Elyon from the Bible.
Well, El, right? So El. Lord of.
Yeah.
All right, let me I'm going to share this little presentation I made, or it's not a presentation, it's just some slides, but let me get this going because I think you guys would find this really interesting. Okay, what do we got here? The serpentine bloodline of the Thumb family. You guys remember Tom Thumb?
Vaguely.
Whoa, man. Tom Thumb was like the little 3-foot homie that was this family that P.T. Barnum had. P.T. Barnum was known as, you know, one of the greatest showmen of all time, but really he was a very, very sticky businessman. Later, the anti-contraceptive guru up in the Connecticut state where he was in high politics there, buying museums, buying cannibals from Fiji to put on showcase. Yeah, he literally bought cannibals. He was a racist. He was a rapist, most likely. Some stories say that he was having relations with some of his employees that were working a part of his freak shows, and that's how some of these kids came to be. but no, this slide is more of a joke. There's really, I don't have anything on the serpentine bloodline of the thumb family. But sorry.
I'm just trying to slander the serpent right now. I thought we were doing the
No, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Serpents are pretty much thumbs.
No, hey, the thumbs are cool though. I give homage to the thumb family. They might have been backing off of, they were getting money. That whole thing with P.T. Barnum and the freak show.
Explain this
and
side.
The traveling circus.
Freak show.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
into this.
Yeah,
so, anyways, here we are. We're looking at the rites of Memphis and Misraim, a Freemason, and just alone in this logo, it's just all the things that we've been talking about, right? You have the Ouroboros, you have the winged egg. Yeah, no, it's a Masonic logo. And we'll get into that. But the Ouroboros, the winged egg, the all-seeing eye, 5, 10, 18, 22 stars, yeah. So we can go here to this link, read a little bit about it. The ancient and primitive rite of Memphis Misraim is a Masonic. What's that?
18 stars. It's 9 and 9.
Oh, 9 and 9. Okay, I'm terribly sorry. Well, hey, that's perfect association to the moon. So 18 is a moon number. The ancient and primitive rite of Memphis Misraim is a Masonic rite founded in Naples, Italy, in September 1881. Ooh, there you go. There's your 18s. By the merger of two older rites, the Rite of Misraim and the Rite of Memphis. Although founded in 1881, its predecessors have their origins in the 18th century. The system is sometimes known as the Egyptian Freemasonry due to the invocation of the Hermetic-derived esoteric symbolism referencing ancient Egypt of the system of degrees. Memphis Misraim was governed internationally under a Grand Hierophant from 1881 until 1923. The first of these was the Giuseppe Garibaldi, the famous military leader of Risorgimento, who had also been the Grand Master Lodge of the Grand Orient of Italy. After his death, there was a factionalism within the organization until eventually the English Freemason John Yarker emerged as the Grand Hierophant in 1902. He was succeeded by Theodore Roos in 1913. Wow, that's a mega moon number. Until his death in 1923. Theodore Roos is a very interesting character as well. We can go check him out real quick. The group in France later renamed the Grand Lodge Française du Rite ancient primitive Memphis Misraim can exist by the cessation of activities from the international governance of Roos's death. Charles Détry, Jean Bricard, Constant Chevillion, and these other turds were grandmasters of the French organization. In particular, Anne Boleyn played a significant role in reforming the rituals of Memphis Misraim in 1960.
Can we go over these symbols here in the middle egg, the upside down egg?
Oh, yes. We'll go back.
Oh, go back.
Well, they're clearly obsessed with the number 9, right? Because like 8 and 1 is 9, and then they have the 9 stars on each side, and then everything was 18.
It depends. Yeah. Well, because no, you're right. 8 and 1 is 9, but then if you do reductionist, then it's also 8.
You could do 8, but they have the 9 stars. That's why I'm thinking it's the other way.
So I was getting into this too. Because the date 1923 and 1913 came up. There's a lot of number association with the moon. And a heavy one is 2 because it's hermetic. It's got the full moon and the new moon, right? Like that cycle. That's one. And then you have, we have a homie waiting. I didn't see him down here. So I was sharing screen. And then you have the number 3 with the triple goddess, like we were talking about earlier, the triquarta. So you have the 3 is a symbolism of the moon, 2 is a symbolism of the moon. Then you have 8 with the Analema and infinity and the perfect cycle of it being a constant cycle. And then you have 9, which is also the symbol of completion and another number of the moon. So you have 2, 3, 8, and 9. And so like when you look at that back at this article, it's like when you know those are the numbers of the moon. How do I exit out of here? Oh goodness.
19 and 13
anyway,
are also associated with the moon. From the Metatonic calendar of the Hebrews with 713 month years. So 19 and 13 are part of the Metatonic calendar of the Hebrews.
It's
beautiful. Pick that symbol up. I wanna break this down a little bit. Because you're talking about the moon and how the moon is quartz, and then you're talking about like the pyramid and like the Pink Floyd symbol. And then you have the eye within the triangle. So it's almost like as if it's looking through that triangle and it's producing the light on the other side, and then the conscious reality of the earth that we live in, right? And then this first one to the left right here, I'm not sure what that is. I thought it was praying hands. It also kind of looks like a rocket or some type of...
This? I don't know what that is. This? Those are
this pillars. Little thing. Oh, there's that two pillars down there below the ladder? Below the ladder?
Yeah, that's what, I mean, that's two pillars with a capstone on it. Looks like.
Okay.
Maybe it's an obelisk.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, could be an obelisk as well.
The side.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's an obelisk with the sun behind it or something like that.
Yeah, the sun on top. Oh. Yeah, there's often something on top of obelisk. Yeah, so definitely
it's kind of like
it would make sense.
Something. Yeah, like or some those things that you use to book weights. Yeah. And then you have the ladder, which is obviously Jacob's ladder, but then you have the gavel, which is the symbol of the judges, right? Tribe of Dan. Then you have the trail, which is
the paver,
like Masonic Masons. Yeah. The temple. I don't know. What is this? The Parthenon?
That looks like the Parthenon. Yeah. Which I think.
So what I'm seeing,
which is Athena,
what I'm seeing
right?
Real quick is like this. Look how it kind of goes like this. It's like these are the same symbol. These are similar symbols. These are similar symbols in the sense that like this is a gavel. This could be associated with like a courthouse, and justice or whatever. Yeah. And then this is like its own symbol right above. So it's almost like that dramatic split of it comes down here towards the tip of the egg, goes up. Now
that cross seemed to have thorns around it. And we lost homie.
Boom goes.
We lost homie. We're taking over. We're taking over.
It looked like a red jewel in the cross too. So to me that kind of is like the rosy cross or
rosy cross. Yeah, that's probably what that is.
Yeah, like
Rosicrucian
or
winding around.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts
the red jewel? The red jewel is interesting too, because in a lot of the Lemurian stuff that we came across, it said like the Atlanteans were coming to the Lemurians to take these red jewels from them that were essentially like this highly energetic type of gemstone or crystal that they were using to power some type of mechanics or whatnot. So
maybe they use it to create the red alloy or a calcum.
Yeah, that they use possibly.
Yeah.
So
what's up, Crypto? Welcome to the show. Crypto Ronin in the house.
Yeah, thank you, man. He's back. We got to behave.
There he is.
That's right, fuckers.
That's the way the mice will play.
About the number, and I don't want to. About the number 19, I've heard descriptions of it as like, carbon 666. Yeah, and then they go, that's 18, and they go, hey, we're 19. That means we're just gonna shred these. We're just gonna shred the whole carbon 666 thing, and also like the 369. Like so, they'll say like 10 is like God's number because it's like 3. It's over a 9, and that whole 9/11 symbology. So yeah, and then like I've heard again, like what are your thoughts on like number 19 in relation to that, like over the number 18, which is part of that, sacred, geometry.
It's interesting. In gematria, 18 becomes 9 and 19 becomes 1. So I think in a lot of ways, the way that 19 can become 1, 19 is not only a step above 18, but it's a new creation of itself. It's a new foundation.
because they use their alchemy with that number 19 a lot. I feel like it's used for darkness, in relation, like what you just mentioned, that you can play with that number a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe that's them trying to be God, right? There's this perfect system that goes back and forth, and they're trying to add their own flair to it.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I've read. I'm not saying this is what is, but exactly, you know, like 18 is beautiful. It's carbon, it's 666 and all that. And they go, hey, we're about 19. We're over that. Screw 18. We're 19. And then of course you could turn that into 1 and 10, so I've heard, I'm not a numerology expert, obviously, but you hear of rituals like 9/11 where they skip over 10 on purpose to go screw that, like, God number, so to speak. And we're more
that's like the Elon Musk, the skipping over the process.
Yeah. Well, and that number is always usually associated with some sort of like destruction, right? Like 911, there's emergency, and then 9/11, right? Those are the obvious ones. I think there were a few other I heard a long time ago, but so yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, it is too. One thing I want to say on numerology and numbers is I don't think there's one that's more important than another. Just like in Solomonic magic, when they're using the archetypes of the planets, it's not like one planet's more powerful than another, but at different times and there's specific timing and increments to implement them. And I think that's a lot of association with it too. Important to bring to the conversation.
Absolutely. The stars were made so that for tracking times, and times are instances, not necessarily like seasons is the word, but that's instances in the Hebrew when you break it down. So it's for essentially certain rituals, certain times, channeling and knowing when to do certain things, when to plant, stuff like that.
Yeah, obviously.
Roman, did you have more slides?
Oh, I do. Yeah. I guess I'll share them.
I know in the Metatonic Hebrew calendar, lunar solar calendar, they derive 19 from a combination of 12 and 7. 7 representing Saturn. 12 being foundational.
Dude, and that's in the notes. That's in the musical notes, the majors and the minors. That's in the chakras. Yeah. Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, obviously no number is bad, you know what I mean? I'm not, but yes, you can,
Well, they're symbols, right? I think these are symbols of what carries intent, and intent is where the power is, I think. But the symbols help bring it into this reality.
Yeah, there's just a time and a place to use it. Like a time will be more potent, and the reason we give meaning to it is so that we can use it, right? Like, why do things have meaning? So we can understand it, and we can use it into our lives. So it's like, okay, now we have meaning to number. Now we can start to use these numbers, and drawing them is meditative and things like that. And yeah, absolutely. But it's important to bring up everybody's ideas about all the numbers, because there's probably seeds of truth in literally everything, I'd say.
Oh yeah, it's hiding everywhere.
I mean, I've gotten the Fibonacci sequence. I've literally went with branches and tied strings and measured branches. They literally operate in a Fibonacci, like that's a literal thing that I've measured myself. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please don't let me distract from you amazing people.
It's all good. I just have a few slides here. There's not really a lot. I think there's only 6 slides.
Cool. Oh, we lost him again.
That's quicker than I thought.
Hope he comes back quick. I got something on the rainbow serpent story of the Aborigines that kind of ties in with what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So, homie, when we gets back, I'm going to go into this. The rainbow serpent, or the rainbow snake, is an immortal being in creating God in Aboriginal mythology. It is a popular image in the art of Aboriginal Australia and is the shape of a rainbow and a snake. The connection between the snake and rainbow suggests the cycle of the seasons and the significance of them in water and human life. When a rainbow is seen in the sky, it is supposed to be the rainbow serpent traveling from one water hole to another. This is meant to explain why some water holes never dry up when drought strikes. There are countless names and stories connected with the serpent, and they illustrate the importance and dominance of presence within Aboriginal tradition. It is said to be the giver of life due to its connection to water. However, it can be a destructive force if enraged. And the rainbow serpent or snake has a significant role in the beliefs and culture of the Aboriginals in Western Arnhem Land. Today is associated with ceremonies about fertility. Many Aboriginal people in the Kimberley region believe that the rainbow serpent places spirit children throughout water holes in which women will become impregnated if they wade in the water. It is also connected with abundance of food through propagation of plants and animals, as well as the governing of the community and keeping of peace. The rainbow serpent is part of the philosophies of Aboriginal people in various parts of Australia, and it is best known in Arnhem Land. The rainbow serpent, or serpent snake, is creator of human beings, and it has giving powers that send conception fertility spirits to all the watercourses, such as billabongs, rivers, creeks, and lagoons, and is in control of producing rainfall. The rainbow serpent is a protector of the land, its people, and the source of all life. However, the rainbow serpent can also be a destructive force if it is not properly respected. In times of anger or rage, it causes storms and floods to act as punishment against those who disobey the laws. In times of the floods, the rainbow serpent swallows and consumes people and regurgitates their bones, which turn into stone. They can also enter a man and give him the gift of magical powers, or leave little rainbows, their progeny, within his body, which will make him ail and die. The rainbow serpent is considered the regenerative and reproductive power in nature and human beings, and is therefore the main character in the region's major ceremonies. The rainbow serpent or snake is portrayed as a long mythical creature made of different parts of animals, such as a kangaroo's head, crocodile's tail, with a huge snake body. Most popular rendition of the rainbow serpent story states that in the dreaming, the world was flat, barren, and arctic. The rainbow serpent slumbered beneath the ground with all the animal tribes in her stomach, awaiting their birth. When the time came, she pushed up, shouting to the animals to awaken from their sleep. She created the sun and fire. She cast the land out, creating the mountains, valleys, and hills, and flooded waters over the land, forming rivers, streams, billabongs, and lakes. Scientists have found that the first paintings of the rainbow serpent appear in Arnhem Land rock between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago, after the last ice age, when the sea rose. After much research, it was discovered that the first snake images would have appeared after the rising of the seas due to the direct climate change. They now confirm that the prototype or model for these paintings would have been inspired by the ribboned pipefish, not from kangaroos, snakes, or crocodiles as first thought. These pipefish originated from coast of northern Australia to Shark Bay in Western Australia to the Torres Strait, and would have been slowly washed inland by the rising seas after the Ice Age. The Aboriginals living inland would have never seen such a creature. It would have been an incredibly difficult and stressful time for early Aboriginals, as their lands were being flooded by rising seas due to changing climate, thus diminishing their food supplies. Plants and animals would have diminished along with the landscape. People from many different tribes would have been forced to share their food and land, causing disruption to their normal way of life. It is because of this trauma enforced on their lives that scientists believe that the rainbow serpent, ribboned pipefish, became a symbol of unison and collaboration as the tribes had to work together to survive, but it also became a sign of creation, change, and destruction by the violent transformation of the land. This creature would have been unfamiliar to the people living inland until the sea began to rise after the last ice age and crept steadily inland, flooding familiar features and causing great disruption to climate, hunting, and traditional patterns of life. Traditional food plants and animals dwindled, and war increased as groups of people from diverse language and cultural groups were forced to share the diminishing landscape. Because of this stress, the researchers reasoned the serpent became the symbol of unity and peaceful cooperation, as well as of creation and destruction. The rainbow serpent is believed to be one of the oldest continuing religious beliefs in the world. All right. Welcome back, Romy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
the Chumash out here, the Chumash out here in California also have a mythology about rainbow serpents.
Yeah, they have the sky snake and the rainbow bridge.
What are your guys' thoughts on the ancient ways of like serpents versus eagles? Like
we were talking about that a little earlier.
Okay.
The eagle representing Enlil or Enlilites, or the warmonger, also the lion, and then the snake or dragon, which was used for the flag of Tartaria, also sometimes an owl, represents salvation or liberation, representative of Enki.
And I have a theory that
salvation,
salvation,
yeah, which was demonized later.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think that also, again, I see two forces at play even in our current day, where you have these people being set up as the bad actors and then these people being set up as the good actors, but they're both kind of taking advantage, in my opinion. Yeah, so I do think there's potential for Enlil and Enki to have been these fallen angels and sort of maybe inventing the Hegelian dialect in some way.
It's like a good cop, bad cop kind of situation.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I'm glad you guys talked about that earlier. When I hear you, anyone mention the old serpent information, any of the old things, I find that the age of the serpent was very big back in the day. It's knowledge. It gives you knowledge. You mentioned it gave men magic or something like that. It's grounded. It's like literally grounded. And then I feel like the age of the eagle, that archetype has been attacking, obviously, like St. Patrick, removing all the snakes from Ireland and all that type of stuff over and over and over again. The battle between this taking out the knowledge, the eagle soaring above and seeing everything, surveying everything and having power and all that Roman stuff. And I find that the eagle concept is almost like a takeover of, they don't want you to have knowledge. They don't want you to have this and all that oppressive stuff that you guys were talking about. Left wing, right wing. I mean, that's a bird. We're talking about a bird. It's a same bird. It doesn't matter.
The eagle.
The fun association.
The
too
eagle is the most
Scorpio.
high.
Scorpio kind of gets associated with the scorpion, the snake, and the eagle too. So there's something, I don't know anything beyond that, but I think there might be some sort of correlation. If, like, sometimes I wonder if anyone has a good map on this, please fucking let me know. But like, if there's a place where on the earth that it like shines, like the constellation would be on the earth. If you could take it from the sky, like where would it be geographically on the earth? I think is really interesting. So if anybody has any of those maps, please let me know and actually look.
Well, it rotates.
Oh, so you could like follow the little path.
If you believe that the earth is round, then it would rotate, and you only see the stars at the nighttime, so you're only going to see it on that certain area at night when the stars shine there.
Well, I'm pretty sure flat earth models still believe the constellations move or rotate.
Yeah, geocentric, and the stars move around us.
The snake constellation Ophiuchus is right next to Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think that story is, I mean, we have friends that could do a lot better job than us at this. Shout out to Slick Dissident and homies. That like kind of symbolizes like a transformative process. Like
I feel like I'm bringing up basic stuff that you guys already covered, but I'm just throwing it out there. You know what I mean? I know there's layers to this.
No, that was good. I'm glad you brought that up.
It was great.
What?
It was great.
I wanted to touch on that because I think we might have talked about this kind of earlier, but you brought up St. Patrick driving out the serpents in Ireland as like part of the Catholic Church, but then we still see the serpent imagery like everywhere in the Roman Catholic Church, and even like Vatican sort of means like something with the serpent. I can't remember exactly.
Jesus was wise like the serpent or snake.
Yeah, wise like a serpent and harmless as a dove, which I think is the most important part, right?
Yes.
Even when you were giving your story, Indy, there was very draconian sort of vibes. It's like it's providing and all of this, but also if you get out of line a little bit, see ya, right? So
Absolutely.
I think that the fact that we still have that serpent imagery so saturated in the Roman Catholic Church, which sort of kind of seems to run everything, right? Like, I mean, you see all of the world leaders going and kissing the seal, the ring of the Pope. So it's just very interesting to me.
It's like wearing the skin. It's almost like they took the skin of the old serpent and put it on body as if, to embody like it always seems like whether it's a matriarchal or a patriarchal, it's reptiles and serpents that are at the top of it. Like, so it's pretty
but it's funny to me because they use, that's like the esoteric side. Like they use Christ as sort of their clout, right? As like their face. But then you look closely at the architecture and stuff, and you're like, why is the Pope talking from the mouth of a serpent? Like there's no question about it. It's very obvious.
And the number one story in the mainstream Bible nowadays is don't trust the snake. Number one, right. The snake will bring you out. So it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, let me just get through and finish these slides real quick, and then we get done with this because I have OCD. So if you click to the next slide, I'm not sure where you guys because I was talking for a while before I realized I dropped out. Did you guys hear the herpes?
Yeah, we were right here.
Okay. So yeah, the HERP, the herp is like serp. It's serpy, herpy, herpent, serpent. So yeah, interesting connection there with old Latin and Greece. Let's go to this next slide here, please. Yeah, H and P. That's what I was saying. That quiet inner peace. To and the what's the library? Wisdom books. You know what I mean?
True.
So is there a link on here? Can you hover your mouse and see if there's a link? There might be a link on this page. Or did I not finish this slide? I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a link.
Where's the link?
Oh, is there? It'll be if you cover over the picture. It'll be like a. Oh, next slide. Whatever.
Click on the picture.
I don't think so.
Right, that little link right there. Yeah.
On the right.
When you click on the picture and those three icons come up, the right one seems to be a link. Is it link?
Well, that just says to share.
Oh, that's a share.
It's a share. Okay.
That's a share. Yeah. Go next slide, though, my brother. Is that the only one? Last one?
That's the end. Yeah.
These motherfuckers be tripping, Shane.
Wow, you're all yelling at me about doing homework, and you put like 5 slides together, or one of them was fake.
I had 10 slides. Okay.
It says 6.
I swear. Oh no, I had. Oh my god, you guys are.
Here's all of them in order.
I had no. Okay, the Canva.
Did you export it to PDF?
No, my computer's been tripping. Like Dan and I have been podcasting since noon, so
needs a break. I get it.
Yeah, my computer's just like, hey, you're running the software. What are you doing? It's going into different Egyptian gods of snakes. There's a lot of them. That snake that you see on the tulip is a very full god. One of the 42 gods in the duat. But I wanted to bring up the Mexico serpent worship, and then I'm gonna read this article and then I'm done, I swear. Okay. Oh no, let's do this one. The Sons of the Serpent. This is pretty interesting. Sons of the serpent is the symbol of health, wisdom, and Gnosis. Serpent was venerated in Egypt as an emblem of divinity, an oracle, and as a god. The sons of the serpent, who are sometimes called the sons of snakes, are said to be the most wisest of races who have ever walked on earth. The serpent race were the first true Gnostics that were sometimes called over the course of history the sons of Seth, the Ophites, the Gnostics, the Hivites, Nephilim, the Kohanim, the Seraphim, the Phoenician bards, Druids, and later became attached to the Catholic Church as the biblical levities from the priestly tribe of Levi. This is my tribe and a part of our story, not mine, the guy on the thing. My family had originated from the island Crete, and in particular, a dragon-shaped island 7 miles away was once known by many names, such as Kos, Kus, or Kus, Pliny, Kos, and Ceon, Cean. Other names would be Delos, Merope, Lemnos, Letos, Stauchino, and Patmos. It was on this island where a great temple and the school of god of healing, Asclepius, was operated. We talked about Asclepius earlier. He was the god of medicine and reputed ancestors of the Asclepiades, the ancient Greek doctors' guild. Today, the island is known as Dia. Our father in the Bible is called the great dragon, Leviathan. And in mythology, Ophis. We came to the land of Canaan from Crete, from the east, in a country known as the land of Ham, with our Phoenician prince Cadmus. All these various names are connected to serpents, such as Ophis, Ophite, Hivi, there's the H, Leviathan, and Levi all signify a serpent. The name of the serpent in the ancient language of Canaan and the Phoenicians was pronounced as Aub, U-B, O-U-B, Ob, that's Oroboro, and Oph, and F, and E-O, E-O. The meaning of the word Ophis signifies a serpent and was sometimes pronounced as Opi or Opus or Opus. Oh, that's a good one. Opus, okay. The Egyptian name for the serpent is F, E-P-H. The Greeks called Apollo the god of light, the second sun, truth and prophecy, healing, plague, music, poetry, and more by the name of Python, which is the same as Ophis. In mythology, the great Ophion and the great queen of Titans, Eurymone, had ruled from a place in Crete sacred to Jupiter that was called Omphalos, near the river sometimes called Triton and Ophis. They were wrestled from their thrones by Cronus and Rhea, who cast down into the earth-encircling river Oceanus. The story is depicted biblically by St. John in Revelation 12:9. The great dragon was hurled down, and the ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray, was hurled into the earth, and his angels with him. Hurled into the earth, and his angels with him. My ancient Gnostic ancestors were sometimes known as Ophites or Sethians, Hivites, and Valentinians. Regarding Seth as one of the first race of the perfect ones, the spiritual in opposition to the material, Cain and Abel, the psychic. Seth was the great prophet of the Gnostic race. We follow the path of faith or the heart use path of faith or the heart use water are known as the sons of Seth, the sons of the serpent. Helena Blavatsky had written about the sons of the serpent, whence the Hivites, who, according to some Roman Catholic commentators, descend from Heth, the son of Canaan, or the son of Ham, or son of Sam, or Seth, H and S, the accursed Brassier de Bourbourg, the missionary translator of the scripture of the Guatemalans, the Popol Vuh, indulges in the theory of the Him and Quetzalcoatl, the Mexican serpent deity. The descendants of serpents, and as they call themselves, are identical with the descendants of Ham, whose ancestor is Cain. Such is the conclusion, at any rate, drawn from the Bourbourg's writings in the De Musu, the demonologist. Bourbourg hints at the chief's name Votan, or the Quetzalcoatl, are the descendants of Ham in Canaan. I am Hivim, they say. Being a Hivim, I am one of the great race of the dragons. I am a snake myself, for I am a Hivim. Cortes 51. But Cain is allegorically shown as the ancestor of the Hivites, the serpents, because Cain is held to have been the first to initiate into the mystery of procreation. The race of dragons or serpents means wise adepts. The names Hivi or Hivite and Levi signify a serpent, and the Hivites or serpent tribe of Palestine were like all Levites, and the Ophites of Israel, initiated ministers to the temples, i.e. occultists, as are the priests of Quetzalcoatl. The Gibeonites, whom Joshua assigned to the service of sanctuary, were Hivites. See Isis Unveiled, Volume 2, page 481. In the Bible, it says conquered Hivites became Huera, the wood of drawers of water. The wood and drawers of water for the house of Jehovah and for the congregation. This is why the symbol of the ancient sons of the serpent were called the Levites, used the water vase as their main symbol. The old symbol of the serpent and the serpent on the cross was replaced by the church in the 7th century with the iconography of the Jesus on the cross. So saying that Jesus is the serpent. Interesting as fuck. In the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by 33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall, he had written, the serpent is the symbol and prototype of the universal savior who redeems the world by giving creation the knowledge of itself and the realization of good and evil. H.P. Blavatsky has said in Isis Unveiled, before the carnal fall, the snake was Ophis, the divine wisdom, which needed no matter to procreate them, humanity being utterly spiritual, hence the war between the snake and the woman, or between spirit and matter. And it's just a couple more paragraphs. Church father, and I know, Dan. I know you want to get in there.
No, this is good.
Okay, but just a couple
more. You want to say something, but this is good. Keep going.
Church father and bishop of Salamis. I fucking love Salami. Cyprus Saint Eupanius in Adversus Harius has written, the Ophites reputedly said, we venerate the serpent because God has made it the cause of Gnosis for mankind. Ealdaboth, the demiurge of who was the god of Jews, did not with men to have any recollection of the mother or of the father on high. It was the serpent who, by tempting them, brought them Gnosis, who taught the man and the woman the complete knowledge of the mysteries on from high. That is why the later Yaldabaoth, mad with fury, cast it down from the heavens, and Saint Hippolytus, Elencals, verse 17, no one can be saved and rise up again without the Son, who is the serpent. For it was who brought the paternal models down from the aloft, and it is he who carries back up again those who have been awakened from sleep and have reassumed the features of the Father. All these stories represented the being awakened to the knowledge of the ancient mysteries and indicate the process of Gnosis and the ancient rite that was universally taught around the world until there was a war on Gnosis and Gnostics by the universal church in order to conquer the world. Contrary to popular Gnostic belief, this war, Ordo ab Chao, had been waged in order to bring the human race from a state of chaos to a place of enlightenment and unity.
You know, I get asked all the time for years now, why would they lie? And that last few sentences is the answer to that question. Why would they lie? Why would they hide stuff? Why would they, do the things that they do, quote unquote? It's to hide the knowledge and keep everyone on lower vibration, lower power. That's why.
But did they have good intentions? Was it to help us, to bring us out of chaos, or was it just keep them on the top? I probably think the latter rather than the former.
The latter, bro.
Yeah,
I think that we have some entities that are trying to help and some that are trying to seek control for themselves.
That's wise.
When Roman was talking about how they replaced Jesus with the serpent on the cross, what is Jesus the symbol of is knowledge, right? And then God is the word. So Jesus comes to bring the knowledge and then tell the word of his Father. So again, you have the serpent representing knowledge. Even when you go to the Garden of Eden, you have the serpent giving knowledge to Eve. And then now they are like the gods because they ate from that tree. And so now they have to cover themselves because now they have the knowledge that the gods have. And seemingly it's like God that doesn't want Adam and Eve to have that knowledge. That's why he told them never to eat of it, because we weren't actually supposed to be coherent or have consciousness. We were supposed to just be garden gnomes, in my opinion.
Well, think about it, right? Like if we were to give sort of consciousness to our iPhones or whatever, and all of a sudden they're experiencing pain and stuff, you're causing something to experience pain, which is not great, right? So
I'm not an iPhone, bro. I'm not an iPhone.
Whatever. Exactly. We're not.
Based off of what Dan said, I believe that it's been co-opted. That word, that book, not supposed to have this knowledge. I believe the ones that wrote that don't want you to have the knowledge. The underlying source, if you will, whatever you want to call that, is not trying to deny us of knowledge. It's those that want to get in between and kind of go, dude, we're in control. We want to run this. We want to, you know. And I'm sorry, Nomad, for interrupting you, brother. I just don't compare me to an iPhone. I'm just.
Oh no, I'm not. And I think there's a lot to that, right? I think Enki and Enlil, if you read the Enuma Elish, Enki is sort of that figure of war and control, and he is often depicted in the garden, you know. So I think there is something to that. Perhaps he was the one that was trying to keep us from the knowledge. And I think Jesus was actually the answer to all of it. And so I think it makes more sense that Enki and Enlil were fighting and causing harm, and then Jesus was the actual answer to what we needed. But that's just my opinion.
I'm of the opinion that it was Enlil that was trying to keep us down. He's a warmonger and enslaver. Whereas
yeah, sorry, did I say it backwards?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I do that all the time, man. I do it all the time. Can you go to this link I sent you in the private chat, sir?
It's just inverted. Everything's inverted, you know.
Scroll down
taking
on
requests
these,
here. Let me do Dan's first.
Scroll down on these. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't know that was a thing.
These are Native American petroglyphs, and what you can see is the serpent mythology in all of them. Look at this one down here on the bottom right. Can you go to that one?
Those are cool. Oh yeah. Shit.
The Alchemy.
Oh snap!
Right next to the snake. Go ahead, click on it. So yeah, look, you have a wheel here, and then you have people on horses with bows and arrows, and you have these horned figures, right? And then you have some serpents on the ground, some big giant Bigfoot footprints. So that's all interesting too. And even these ones actually kind of look more like deer horns. The one on the right, where the one on the left looks like maybe goat horns. So my kind of interpretation of these Native American petroglyphs is that either Vikings or some pre-Viking culture that used to wear these horned headdresses or whatnot used to come to America, and they're the ones that gave Native Americans knowledge. That's why you see a lot of the serpent motif in these, and they brought the wheel. The wheel is also very enigmatic to the Norse religion of the spoked wheel. It's like where the alphabet comes from. If you draw lines through there, you can get a P, then you can get a D, you can get an A. It's like the writing system too also came from the spoked wheel. And then you have like just these animals here, and then so go down to some more images. There's some famous ones that like ancient aliens say that look, aliens visited America.
Sure,
that's Sir Nuno's. But like so scroll down some more, and then also like you can see like Native American, like their print that they use on like their blankets often has like snake designs on them. They have like the same type of markings as a snake on it. They also have wolves and stuff like that. So yeah, look at this one right here in the middle. Yeah, so you have this eagle, right, and then you have these serpents along the ground. You have a
hey, hold on.
Scarab beetle in the top left.
Hold on, Dan, for a second. You sound like a robot.
Oh shit!
Just turn it off and on again.
Yeah, mute it and turn it back on.
Piercing noise.
Man, he was on a roll.
Am I good?
No, it's like robot-y. Piercing. Maybe unplug the cord and plug it back in. Just real quick. Or check your connection on the cords. Horned serpents are a thing, and they're said to have been like dwell in water holes. So that's really interesting. Like watery horned snakes do exist.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yes. Scroll down some more, Nomad. if you would, please, sir. Oh yeah, here we go. Keep going. Yeah.
Here we are.
There's one famous one that I'm kind of looking for that has like this.
Whoa.
Looks like a guy in a gas mask or something.
The one with the guy with the antlers kind of look like that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Quetzalcoatl, I know he has a lot of those kind of images.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I actually had one pulled up here already.
Interestingly, though, they talk about Quetzalcoatl leading the Olmec to America from Africa, and Quetzalcoatl being Hermes or Mercury coming from Africa, leading the Olmec to South America, Central America, Mexico.
Makes a lot of sense.
And into the Americas.
The African face round heads of the Olmecs.
Mm-hmm. And then also you have the tribe of Dan being the plumed serpent. They used to wear these feathered headdresses, not like the Native Americans. The Native Americans had it kind of paraded in the front, but they wore it around their head like a crown with feathers coming out. So this definitely has some sea people's vibes to it, and knowing that the tribe of Dan also came from the Middle East, from Anatolia, from all around the world, same song. Knowing that they came from all over the place, they probably had also brought their knowledge to the Americas. And we talked about earlier the Sphinx being the lion, and how the lion is a representation of Dan and hiding the knowledge, and the Duat and the Tuat, the Danan. So seemingly they also came from Egypt, and they brought the knowledge with them, because also Hermes is the god of wisdom and knowledge. So of course he would be represented as a serpent. Even though in Egypt he's represented as the
Caduceus,
as the ibis. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty Abraxas-y too, eh? Like bird head and then serpent legs.
Bird and serpent. Legs. Yeah.
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 Dude, one thing I wanted to say, I like that you brought the horned serpent up, because that is we didn't really touch too much on North America serpent lore, but let us not forget there is a lot of snakes here. So you can bet your sweet tushy that the indigenous cultures were deeply embedded into that. And then you go down to South America, and all of those lores are equal to that of Egypt and Asia, of having big symbology and a lot of mythological stories containing the serpent, which we haven't even really touched. We haven't touched any Aztec, any South American, barely Mexican, but it is great that we brought this up, because I had a couple, things pulled up on the horned serpent, and because I love snakes, I love spiders and bats. Like I'm a big on all those like creepy animals. And when I found out there was a horned snake a few years back, I was like posting it on Facebook. I was like, "You guys ever seen this horned snake?" It was the coolest shit I've ever seen. But there's a lot of lore and mythos about them coming from deep water holes. Like they come from underneath the bottom of like the lake, and then they come to the surface. But it could be like you're saying, like potential boats and ships. It could be symbology of like ships and people being on ships, because we know that a lot of the had dragons and snakes on the front. They called their boats serpents. So that's another tie. Even though I don't want to give credit, I like to give credit more to the native peoples, and just being like they were they got brought this knowledge, and but yeah, I feel it.
But seemingly every culture got brought knowledge. So that's I mean, even our own culture, we get brought knowledge. We're not all creating iPhones and fucking Neuralink and shit and Tesla cars. So seemingly it's ubiquitous.
I will say that the Python spirit, that offered me wisdom, a lot of the code that runs, a lot of our world is run off of Python. So I do find that interesting. Perhaps somebody said yes to that and they were given the download of Python.
Oh man, so this site you have here pulled up is that god Nehebkau is that snake with the two legs. It had like the two human legs, and yes, right there, perfect. So this is like a list of dates that were dedicated to the to this god. It was a holidays in ancient Egypt. And why I thought it was interesting is because it actually falls within Scorpio, and the transition from Scorpio into Sagittarius or into Ophiuchus on the constellations. And another reason why I thought it was really fucking cool.
Why you like the bats and the snakes and the creepy creatures is because you're a Scorpio.
And this is exactly, if you scroll down just a little bit more, on my birthday is the celebration of Nehebkau. So, and I've always had these tattoos of Osiris's tools on I got the crook and the flail on my forearms. Some of the earliest tattoos I got, and I've never even into history or anything. I was just like, thought they were cool. And I was like, oh shit, this is like another Osiris connection. My brother is also named Seth. And we're kind of like, yeah, so it was kind of cool. But it also means during this time of the Scorpio constellation or part of the zodiac, that the ancient Egyptians were having these types of festivals going on and celebrating that transition from the summer into the fall into the winter. And there's a lot to be said there about gaining wisdom during these dark times and during the winter. It's like the time to go into, like when we're describing the Abraxas earlier, like the morning is associated with the bird and the rooster's up at the first thing in the morning, and the nighttime is associated with the serpent. And they both have to do with wisdom, but they're different types of learning and different types of wisdom. And so the snake and the serpent being the nighttime or the dark time and the inside of the earth really makes sense and aligns with these dates here of the October leading into November. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Also, the nighttime is when a lot of the pagans did their rituals or whatnot in the darkness. So if they're out in the woods in the dark doing these rituals and shit, they would definitely be attributed to the snakes, or because that's when they're getting their wisdom and doing their ceremonies and that type of thing, and using the moonlight.
Yep. Yeah, super powerful. I think that's why the moon is like thinking of the cathedrals as divinatory places to do ritual, right? When you go and do ritual, is you can do a self ritual, but you can do a group ritual. But ritual is movement, it's singing, it's intention. And so you can think of church as almost like it's a ritual. And when these cathedrals were built specifically to have correlations to the windows of the sun and the moon, it's like you have rituals during the day, but you also have your nighttime rituals as well.
The chewing of the onion, that's pretty Midnight interesting. Mass.
What did you say? Chewing of the what?
Right there on the screen, it says the Festival of Basset, or the Festival of Chewing of Onions.
Chewing of onions. Oh, I know. That's what brought me into this was the onion thing, because it said like the onion holiday. What does that say? Can you read that? No, I can't read that. It's too small for me.
The whole thing.
I can see it. Oh, boom.
Okay, here we go. Even scroll up just a little tiny bit more, actually. To the. Okay, yeah. You want to go, Dan? Read that shit.
Sure. Do you want me to do the Festival of Nehebkau?
Yes.
The snake god, or the one with the head of a snake, he who unites the chaos, has an ambivalent, dangerous role, but also beneficial. It is written that the deceased asks to be recommended to him in the beyond, as highlighted by Shorter. It is difficult to understand how this obscure entity has such a place in a festival of such an importance, unless by considering a tradition which states that he was the son of the god of the land, Geb, and the goddess of the crops, Renunet. Since the new kingdom Nehebaku had such a narrow link with Sokar, this day of the festival of Nehebaku also corresponds to one of the 2 New Year's days of the Egyptian year, the first day of the year and the other the New Year's Day in summer with the arrival of the flooding. The festival of Bastet, or the festival of the chewing of the onions. The bundles of onions to be chewed are present in the ritual of this festival of Bastet. It is in the time of the mature onions, which are consumed on the night of Farmuti, 4th of February, or February 5th. The onions mature in the ground in an obscure and gritty environment, evoking the domain of Sokar in the Duat. The festival of Bastet, the real end of the Sokarian cycle, became an anti-snake festival. The Ophidians, the snake-like spirit who hibernated in soil by the power of the onion leaves, menaced the ascension of the Sumeri light, just as Apophis threatens to progress of the solar bark in the Duat at the time of the nocturnal journey of the sun. Bastet, one of the feline goddesses who personified the burning eye of Ra in the myth of the lion-like goddess, became the protector of the burning sun of summer.
Super sick. Wow, that is fascinating.
That's it. Just that chewing of the onions ritual, the fact that it, is said is implanted in the soil, it's gritty environment, invoking the domain of Sokar in the Duat in the underworld. It's really fascinating, like, because the onion is essentially a root, right?
Yeah, you're eating bulb. Yeah, the root, it grows in the ground. And that's what we were talking about earlier. We were talking about that after our interview with Martin, or Daring, maybe. It was like a lot of the plants we eat, they are roots. So they never even see the sun. They're completely blocked by the sun, and they have amazing nutrients. Whoa. What is this?
Well, because that we were just talking about serpent. Yeah. We were just talking about Apophis. So where to go here? Just as Apophis threatens the progress of the solar bark in the Duat at the time of the nocturnal journey of the sun, and Apophis is known as like the serpent of chaos in Egyptian lore, from what I understand. So I just found that fascinating. I was trying to see if I could find some connection between the hieroglyphs and the imagery here. And
definitely try to go to that one with its head getting cut off. That's Bastet, right?
I don't think so.
Any of them?
Yeah. Apep. Yeah. The one with the Wikipedia that'll have some juice. Oh,
high res image.
Oh, nice. Man, really need to start deciphering hieroglyphs. The fact that we don't even have a book on it is sad. What am I doing?
But so this is like the cat, which you could almost say is the higher echelons of the creature. If we were just talking about the similarities between the cat and the snake, right? So it's almost like the higher self is cutting off the lower self or something. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think in that festival it just said Bastet. And Bastet is a cat goddess. She's representative of a cat sometimes. So I wonder if that is that.
Yeah, Bastet usually Bastet is represented as a black cat, but I don't know if that's the same or not, because that one seems more leopardy looking.
Let's see,
but still a feline goddess, which is what Bastet was personified as.
Yeah, and don't forget, cats will mess up a snake in real life, in nature.
Yeah, straight up.
Oh yeah. Sekhmet is the lioness goddess of war. Because this one over here, this Apep, the Egyptian jewelry one in the middle, that kind of looks like a jackrabbit or something like that.
I first thought it was a rabbit.
And then you have the tree. I wonder if the tree is symbolic, because the story of Garden of Eden, you know.
Yeah, and how the tail is curling is really interesting too. In both the photos, it's like goes up and over the leg joint and out the back.
And it's almost like a symbol of time and sunrise and sunset and sunrise and sunset, because it says it's cutting off the head from the darkness, the journey, the boat.
Go to the one on the left there.
Underworld.
Truth is over.
The truth is over here.
Yeah, I want to see what that says. And then we'll start wrapping up ish after that. Is there any text?
Is there any words?
What do you mean words?
Wiggly gummily bear.
Click on the site name instead of the picture.
Oh, I see.
Cool.
Private
site.
You to know.
Oh, you got to pay for that WordPress moment. God damn. Oh, there's a YouTube video. Well, 5-minute closer video, huh?
Do it.
Can you hear the audio or no?
You might have to quit share and then reshare real quick.
Yeah, I might have to reshare it.
Yeah, you're gonna have you have to change the settings.
No, you could do it.
I'm sure you know
click
how.
the tab. You present, share screen, and then go to the Chrome tab.
Somebody bust a beat. Bird
right,
dog, I know you got beats.
It's ready, Romy. Waiting on you.
Just about to grab my guitar, man. All right. Here we are.
Pais was the ancient Egyptian deity who embodied chaos and was thus the opponent of light and Mat. He appears in art as a giant serpent. His name is reconstructed by Egyptologists as E1/4 Pa, as it was written Eo Kappa A pound PP, Y, and survived in later Coptic as a squared euro A squared plus or minus a squared alpha PH. Apep was first mentioned in the 8th dynasty, and he was honored in the names of the 14th dynasty King Apepi and of the greater Hyksos King Apepis. Development. Ra was the solar deity.
This robot, man.
Light,
this robot.
The upholder of Mat. Apep was viewed as the greatest enemy of Ra, and thus was given the title Enemy of Ra, and also the Lord of Chaos. As the personification of all that was evil, Apep was seen as a giant snake or serpent, leading to such titles as Serpent from the Nile and Evil Lizard. Some elaborations said that he stretched 16 yards in length and had a head made.
Pause. So interesting, it said Apep was the nemesis of Ra, and we've been talking about the moon and how the symbolism of the moon and the snake go together. And then the Ra is the sun, so the nemesis of the sun would be the moon.
But also Nehebku, that other snake that we were talking about earlier with the legs, was an associate, like the right-hand man of Ra, during this process. And it was like a friend of Ra. So it's like you have these two snakes high in the Egyptian lore, one evil, one bad, one good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay.
Resume.
Which gets back to what I was saying originally, right? I think some of these fallen angels, a third of them were probably evil, and the other ones are good.
They're like, I just work here,
right?
Cutting off a guy's head.
Just
it's like I
doing my job.
Whoa.
Did you want to continue the robot voice? Or
yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
Of flint. Already on in Nakada, I see where Bowler Snake was painted on the inside rim, combined with other desert and aquatic animals as a possible enemy of a deity, possibly a solar deity, who is invisibly hunting in a big rowing vessel. Also, comparable hostile snakes as enemies of the sun god existed under other names already before the name Apep occurred. The etymology of his name is perhaps to be sought in some West Semitic language where a word root eo pound pp meaning to slither existed. A verb root eo kappa a pound pp does at any rate not exist elsewhere in ancient Egyptian. Apep's name much later came to be falsely connected etymologically in Egyptian with a different root meaning spat out. The Romans referred to Apep by this translation of his name. Apep was a large golden snake known to be miles long. He was so large that he attempted to swallow the sun every...
Now that's interesting. Who was it? Was it someone in the chat that said the golden snake that they saw? And it was a golden and silver?
Oh, it had jewels.
Yeah.
Shannon had mentioned that. Yeah. It just said something that I was interesting and I forgot now. Oh, Apep is a pee-pee, and it spat out something. It sounds like some penis
innuendo
here. Yeah.
Well, when someone had I think Romy, you had an image of the serpent around the egg. Well, to me, that's like a sperm almost, fertilizing the egg.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Shall we continue?
Let's continue.
Every day,
Mrs. Robot.
Battles with Ra. Tales of Apep's battles against Ra were elaborated during the New Kingdom. Since everyone can see that the sun is not attacked by a giant snake during the day, every day, storytellers said that Apep must lie just below the horizon. This appropriately made him a part of the underworld. In some stories Apep waited for Ra in a western mountain called Baku, where the sun set, and in others Apep lurked just before dawn, in the 10th region of the night. The wide range of Apep's possible location gained him the title World Encircler. It was thought that his terrifying roar would cause the underworld to rumble. Myths sometimes say that Apep was trapped there, because he had been the previous chief god overthrown by Ra, or because he was evil and had been imprisoned. The coffin texts imply that Apep used a magical gaze to overwhelm Ra and his entourage. Ra was assisted by a number of defenders who traveled with him, including Set and possibly the Eye of Ra. Apep's movements were thought to cause earthquakes, and his battles with Set may have been meant to explain the origin of thunderstorms. In some accounts, Ra himself defeats Apep in the form of a cat. Worship. Ra was worshipped, and Apep worshipped against. Ra's victory each night was thought to be ensured by the prayers of the Egyptian priests and worshippers at temples. The Egyptians practiced a number of rituals and superstitions that were thought to ward off Apep, and aid Ra to continue his journey across the sky. In an annual rite, called the Banishing of Chaos, priests would build an effigy of Apep that was thought to contain all of the evil and darkness in Egypt, and burn it to protect everyone from Apep's evil for another year, in a similar manner to modern rituals such as Ozabra. The Egyptian priests had a detailed guide to fighting Apep, referred to as the Books of Overthrowing Apep. The chapters described a gradual process of dismemberment and disposal, and include spitting upon Apep, defiling Apep with the left foot, taking a lance to smite Apep, fettering Apep, taking a knife to smite Apep, putting fire upon Apep. In addition to stories about Ra's winnings, this guide had instructions for making wax models, or small drawings, of the serpent, which would be spat on, mutilated and burnt, whilst reciting spells that would kill Apep. Fearing that even the image of Apep could give power to the demon, any rendering would always include another deity to subdue the monster. As Apep was thought to live in the underworld, he was sometimes thought of as an eater of souls. Thus the dead also needed protection, so they were sometimes buried with spells that could destroy Apep. The Book of the Dead does not frequently describe occasions when Ra defeated the Chaos Snake explicitly called Apep. Only BD spells 7 and 39 can be explained as such. See also, 99,942 Apep, Egyptian influence and popular culture, ethnoherpetology, Jar paragraph Ramungand, Mhen, Anat, Project. Notes. External links, Apep, Water Snake Demon of Chaos, Enemy of Ra. Ancient Egypt, the Mythology, Apep.
Yeah, we're good. I thought it was interesting that they said that Apep was like the waters, and that it ate the sun at the horizon, meaning that it's a sea serpent, right? It's the serpent that eats the sun, and that's why it was its enemy, because it was the water, it was the horizon that ate the sun. And so I think that's kind of interesting, because I think in Norse mythology, Jormungr was the sea serpent that Thor tried to destroy. They also mentioned that the water or the serpent Apep caused earthquakes. So if the water, I don't know if the oceans are associated with earthquakes or whatnot, but that's kind of an interesting parallel there, if it is.
That's fascinating. Yeah, the horizon is amazing if you catch a really good sunset, and the sunlight happens to make like a bridge across to the shore. Like it's almost like a rainbow bridge or something that you can like walk on. You know, it's like as the sun's going. There's also a green flash that happens if you catch a perfect sunset. If there's not too much like clouds on the sunset, you'll have like a little green flash. It's a perfect sunset. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That was a cool video, even though it was robot stuff. I had to recently get over that with the PDF reader.
Disguise.
Robots in disguise. Oh, Dan never got to tell his story last week about his book that he wanted to write when he was a child about dragons and detectives.
Me?
Yeah, you remember that book you wanted to write?
Nah.
The
Dick Dragon?
Yeah.
Dick Dragon, the medieval private eye?
Yeah, man. Like you give us a little insight.
I mean, there's your insight.
Dick Dragon in the sands of time.
Yeah. He's a medieval private eye and he solves crimes. Medieval crimes.
The next slow burn that we do, I mean, Sunday I have a catering
hard
gig, so I'm unable to make it. You don't want to read that book?
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Very hard
pass. Anyways, I can't make it next Sunday, so we're gonna have to do.
Jokes are so good they just fly over our heads.
Yeah. Anyways, so I don't know if we're gonna do it next Sunday. I won't be able to be here, but the following Sunday, what we should do is have the Roleplay day where everybody can come in character, and we'll get down on some mythic quest, live in action. With and maybe role play. And here's what we'll do. Instead of us having a game master, I just fucking came up with this idea on the spot. Instead of having a dungeon master, the audience, everybody listening, types the story as we go.
Cool. We're acting it out. I like it.
Yes. All right, I'm down.
Also, like, I got a dragon costume. I got a wizard costume. Man.
Oh, shit! He's going out. A wizard. Nice. Yeah. But we can't all be wizards. You know what I'm saying? Like,
not everyone. I got my character.
We have like 20 wizards.
That's true.
All right, so we could go.
What are you going to be, Roman? A mystic banana, mystic green banana.
Hey, peeling back.
Phoenix costume.
It'd be fun to go through and make up a character real quick. It doesn't have to be the one we use. But one of my big characters when I do like hack and slash or role play is Batman, but not Batman. I'm a man bat. So I am a like 7 foot tall man bat. I got a real cool. My wings are like here. They cover me, but it's like a coat. But it's like my wings.
Crypto, and duality role play.
Emo as fuck too. So I got the glasses. I got the fangs with the black bandana, and my bangs are right over my eyes. And super annoying. My character is naturally very annoying. Like people are very annoyed by him.
Well, your character
but he parties. Exactly. So underneath his wings, drugs, and he sells them all over. So he has all these friends. He has all these connections, and he has to go on all these missions because he knows the backdoor entrances. But nobody likes him because he's a terrible piece of shit, and he's constantly high all the time. So that's my man bat character, otherwise known as Boot.
Man Batula.
Man bat Boot, and his name is Boot. Yeah, it's B-U-T with an umlaut on it. Boot.
Batula.
The anti-hero. I'd watch that movie.
What about you, Ronan? What's your character?
Hard pass.
What's your character, Ronan?
If I'm being true and not being silly, I would be like a Ronin. Basically a Ronin with mystical powers. Lightning powers. I mean, lightning would be a thing, and I could just like someone's like, I'm just gonna blast you. I could just jump really far, really fast, and just Ronin style. But I'm a man of peace, and I roam the land, and then I link up with you delinquents, and then somehow we get on some sort of side quest, and then after it, I go,
thanks,
all right, guys, and I walk my path. I walk quietly. So that's my character, man. But dude, you threw bat in there. Like, what if I was like a Ronin bat, like a bat Ronin? Because that, I'm not trying to steal your idea, but it just like it gave me a little bit of extra. Like
we could be bat cousins. Like we haven't met for a long time. It's been thousands of years since our reunion, and we see each other. But we have beef. We have family beef. Where like grandma really loved you, and she gave you all the attention. I got none. I got shadowed in the corner. But Granny just
I saw Crypto Ronin batting his eyelashes at you earlier too. So
hey, get in line, baby. You feel me? I'm just kidding. Nomad character, go.
I have no idea. It'll be a surprise. Divine
timing. That's not fun. Come on, give us a
cleric.
Sorry, bro.
I don't. He's a cleric.
I don't really dress up much, so I don't really know. I'd have to think on it.
I mean, I'm gonna wear my birthday suit. You don't have to. You
don't
have
a
to
white robe,
fancy.
Oh no,
that's a hard pass.
All right, he's gonna take. He'll take the. You're gonna take a shamanic route. I like this. He's gonna be a mushroom.
I already have a character. It's Danunnaki Dan. I'll be
a real original, bud.
Mystic's battle mage.
Trim up his beard a little
bit, man.
Yes,
I'll be a battle.
Dude.
Yes. I'll just be my
we need you
from a comic.
Get you an axe.
Battle mage.
Oh, we need a Viking. We need a battle berserker.
Yeah,
we need a berserker.
We gotta have a berserker on the crew. Absolute.
Yeah, man.
Andy.
He's on there.
Solomon.
He's a spiritual master. He's one of the sages.
Oh yes. Oh, I have a hard time not giving people powers, and I'm like, oh, and they can. It's like, no.
Thank you, Shannon.
No. Thank you, Shannon. She's a seer mystic. PK asked if we need a druid. He just found out what a druid was. Well, dude,
he found out he was a druid.
He found out he was a druid.
My bad. I'm a little dyslexic.
Ooh, all right. Past life, I'm thinking.
All right, we're putting together a squad, dude. Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
we should totally do this, and the link will be there. And we can have a huge crew. And actually, the bigger it is, I mean, like we cap it maybe 10
Dragon
people,
Master is going to be the most significant thing. So, we definitely, if everybody's going to get together and do that in the chats, it'd almost be better if we just had one Dragon Master, and other people in the chat could relay different ideas, and then the Dragon Master could essentially pick the thing. That's what it's called, or the Dungeon Master.
Do you want to be the Game Master? Do you want to be the Dragon Master?
I'll be a dragon, but you can be the Dungeon Master.
see. Oh shit! Hey, we getting freaky up in here, baby. But no, thank you guys, dude. This has been great. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we sign out here, and or plugs?
I do. I just want to say I love you guys, all of you, even you, Mystic Bird Dog. Even though you hate me so much and make fun of me all the time, I still have nothing but love for you, brother. Even though Bitcoin is going to destroy the world and it's one step into globalism, I still support you on your quest. Thanks, Nomad, for being here too. I appreciate you, brother. I'm looking forward to our chats. Me and Nomad and Joshua the Branch last night, we started to not even really go through Genesis, but talk a bit about our religious experiences and some ideas that come from the Bible. And we're going to be going through the book of Genesis. that's going to be out on the Patreon, and then it's going to be coming to Spotify. Also, I'm going to be putting magical songs on there. That's why I'm using Spotify, so I can put some custom songs on there from other people, and bands that I like. And then yeah, and thank you, Indy, for always showing up on the stream. We appreciate you, brother. Love you, man. And Roman, I love you too, even though you're so fiery with me all the time.
You bring it out of me, baby.
Our tribe.
I know. It's been a long relationship, so it's inevitable.
Man, but
for all the things that you do, sweetheart.
Thank you, baby. So sweet and beautiful, like a sauce on a sweet Salisbury steak.
And thanks to everybody listening to this nonsense every weekend. We appreciate it. We love doing these slow burns. It's fun to just hang out with the homies and talk about the symbology of things, and instead of having a guest on and talking to a guest. It's nice to kind of have our own thoughts and ideas and get them out and share perspectives with each other, because that's what it's all about in the end, to get along, to get along to get along. What is it? How's it go?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it. That works.
Dig it. Much love, man, to all you guys, to all of our viewers. Thank you guys for being here, everybody. And what a subject, man. This was a good show. So thanks, guys. You can check me out on Facebook at Indy Sage, or you can check me out at Instagram at Raw Sentinel, or check me out on my podcast. Not my podcast, my blog. Podcast coming soon. My blog is vibetribescribe.wordpress.com. Big ups and big love for everybody.
Peace. Yeah. Wait. What about Bird Dog and Nomad? Do your shout outs, guys.
Go for it, Bird Dog.
I'll go first. First of all, I appreciate this space and hanging out with you guys. It's amazing. I appreciate everyone in the chat. I mean, you guys are a beautiful. I always get a good, nice recharge hanging out with everyone here. So I appreciate everyone here. You're all awesome,
including
dude, Dan, you're the best, man. Dude, I'd raise my shield with you, bro. Let's go. You're good. I'll raise my shield with you. That's all that matters. Everything else.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you too, brother.
So thank you. Much love. Tomorrow's another day, and I do have a YouTube if you want to check it out. It's all over the place, but we'll see how it goes. It's working it. But Nomad, you're a beautiful spirit. You're a beautiful soul. Dan, you're awesome, dude. We're all awesome. Indy's, I'll choose him over any sage. That in a roundup of sages, Indy's my sage. That's for sure. And you're the man, dude. Like, you're on my team. I chose sages, and we were playing a game of pick 'em up or whatever. I'd be like, Indy, you're with me. Anyway, Ron, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Much love.
Give me the rock.
And I'll just say the same sentiment. I love y'all. This has been great. I really appreciate these conversations. I appreciate everyone in the chat bringing their perspectives and their testimonies of dreams and personal things. That's adds such a layer of depth to the conversation. I really appreciate it. If anyone wants to keep the conversation going, you can find me at nomad.art. That's GNOMAD.art. And you can find all your other links to socials and whatnot there as well. Love y'all.
Love you too. Peace.
Thanks, man.
And to PK in the chats, just because he asked what the topic is for next week, because he stepped away for a second. Maybe no slumber next week, but the week after we're doing role play, so be there.
Yeah. And then one more thing. Roman and I, Rising from the Ashes, has a comic book coming out.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. It's going to be
out around, I'll say March, April, sometime in that time. The art is getting done now.
Cool.
So the concept of it is Roman and I go into a tattoo shop, get tattoos.
The story is savage.
We inhale some something, And we end up going into this dream realm where our tattoos appear on our body, and then we can use these tattoos to further us in our quest. But as the quest goes on into this seemingly old world or Tolkien-esque type world, we end up dying, and we awake from our dream, and always premature, just like dreams are. And the inevitable, the kind of whole story is that women are ruling the world, and they are keeping us from figuring it out. And we end up getting clues in our dreams in our real life into.
All right, don't give away the whole story, brother. All right, you got to keep a little juice for him.
Jesus.
That's a little that's a little moral. Moral of the story is that's the kind of concept right there, sir.
Okay, just it's such a good storyline. I love it.
I bought the My Family Thinks I'm Crazy and Juan and from Paranoid American. He has a comic on those dudes.
Yep.
I bought that.
That's who we're working with.
And it was fantastic. So cool. I'll be honest, I have it. It was fantastic. It was only like 3. It was 333. So if it's anything like that, man, I'm in, dude. I'll buy one, dude. You know.
Hell yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. No, it's gonna be great. And like we've been talking on the podcast realm to try to make like a universe of this like multi-universe, kind of like Marvel has, but where we have cross character references and things like that. So
Land of the Misfits.
Right, dude. It's so but yeah, like I really like the story, and Dan was getting real into telling it. I'm like, but it is good, and the support would be great because it is.
I just gave it a little synopsis. Yeah. So we'll see.
It's beautiful. I love you. I love everybody. Thank you, chatties. Thank you, everybody, the Fire Tribe, and until next time.
Peace. Wake up.
Wake up.
Bleh.